Brian is innocent. Brian has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Listen up, the ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax that meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth the blaze seek. Innocent till proven guilty, our victory's complete. System cracked at the seams, built for just a few. We rip apart the scheme, bring the truth into view. Movement swells like thunder, souls fueled by conviction. Phoenix souls aligned, demanding our new vision. Marching on the courthouse, banners paint the sky. Echoes of freedom roar, watch the old guard comply. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets solved. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We all know why we're here. I'm glad you're here this morning, and I hope you are ready for some information that, a lot of people have been telling me through the years they had suspicions, they knew stories, rumors, people telling us this is exactly what happened. It's been a lot of hearsay and a lot of media rhetoric. But I'm telling you, if you have not seen the documents that are on our beautiful, wonderful website that we all are a part of, and that's Justice for All, not only are you a part of this nest from the original hive, but in this nest, we fight for one another. It's Justice for All, F-O-U-R, like the number, like IDAHO4, all. Because in my humble opinion, these kids didn't get justice. These young, bright, smart, future entrepreneurs, leaders, marketing experts, they didn't get justice. And neither has Brian Kohberger. None of them. And what do? Do we just sit in the echo chamber that's created for us? Or do we break out of that box and share what we find and scream out across this country, justice for all? Because I'm sure you are learning a lot of things that you did not know before this case even existed. And if that's you, drop a 1. If you've learned something new in this case, let's say in the last 4 to 5 months, drop a 1. Because I want you to understand the world we live in around the criminal justice system. I want you to understand this happens to innocent people. I have a story to tell. We'll tell that later, but this is not the time. This is a public, high-profile case that is sharing a story within a story, and the DNA evidence is going to tell you that story. That's what we do for one another. If one falls, we got your back. I believe, in my humble opinion, some of these parents wanted to fight, but the system that is set up for the few sets it up for people to fail. Does. And I can get on a high soapbox here, but I'm going to narrow it down, and I'm going to tell you, thank you so much, Marissa. We love you back. You are so welcome. We appreciate you, Phoenix. I appreciate every single one of you that wants to listen and tune in and watch and hear and subscribe and share and know the truth. See, because I've been very unbiased. I don't talk to families for a reason. I don't talk to individuals involved in cases in open investigations for a reason. But I just seem to get pulled to the ones that involve innocence, autism, corruption. I guess I'm just called to do this, and so I will. This case is starting to remind me of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, folks. There's so many parallels, and I'll do a breakdown for you. Because in that case, I had the sheriff's reports before anyone else. I looked at the reports. I figured it out. They knew it. We knew who unalived, allegedly, Gypsy Rose Blanchard's mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. We knew. And we also knew who took the fall and is still in prison for that. We knew. I'm going to show you the DNA evidence that came out last night that was uncovered. I'm going to show you what was on Maddie Mogen's body by their own admission. And now I know why they wanted to hide this and shove somebody against a corner to take a plea deal. Because see, folks, when your back is up against a corner and you're facing murder charges and you're factually innocent, you take the lesser of two evils. And the district attorney knew what he was doing, putting Koberger in the proverbial corner. Because this is only going to happen for a little while, guys. It's only going to happen for a little while. I believe eventually he will be exonerated. In my heart, 100%, I know he will be. Now, whatever you think or whatever you thought you knew before this case, and if your intuition was telling you somebody in that house knew, probably. You're probably 99.9% correct. But will they ever find out who did this? Process of elimination, guys. The evidence will lead to the process of elimination. Now, we are not here. I'm going to put up my disclaimer this morning. We are not here. This is for informational, commentary, educational purposes. All the opinions of me expressed are those of me, the creator, not you, not people who come and join us. And it doesn't reflect any views of any institutions, organization, individuals. I am independent. I am just a mother, a grandmother, a mother with a son that has autism. Been involved in the criminal justice system by experience, not by choice. Juvenile detention experience, not by choice. Certified by the state of Idaho to work with autistic adults. Yes. But I want to tell you this. This is not a stream intended to accuse, defame, slander, or harm the reputation of any person or entity. So whatever you put in this chat, make sure it's alleged unless you know the facts and are willing to be a first account witness. Because honestly, in my humble opinion, in this case, there were no witnesses. There were no witnesses to this event. And I'll tell you why I believe this. I'm sure I'm not the first one out here to tell you something isn't right in this case. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has shared the information. I was up late last night when I went through this 25-page document drop with the DNA from an expert that was going to come in and testify that the state hired. Yeah. That's when it all fell to poop. So remember yesterday when I was talking about the document drop and that we would be able to see them pretty soon, they would upload overnight. Well, they did. And this report came out on April 5th, 2025. As you got closer and closer and closer to court, guess what? Yeah, this report was released. And then I believe the prosecution had an oh shit moment. And that was basically, what the heck are we going to do? Now remember, prosecution always has the power. Always has the power in a courtroom because they are the ones that brought forth charges and have to prove and prosecute their case. Not only the FBI evidence that I showed you yesterday was not admitted And I did a follow-up video last night when the document dropped. It was exactly what we thought. If you haven't watched that video, please do. Please go watch the video. But if you haven't, I'm going to show you, just so you know, what I posted last night. I'm going to speed it forward so you don't have to watch the end. Just listen to the evidence I presented last night. And there's going to be people that tell you something different. Don't go research for yourself. Please do so. Go research for yourself. That's why the repository website has been made for the truth, so that you can see it all for yourself. Here we go. Well, folks, earlier today, I shared with you on my live this actual order that was denied, and I explained in full detail what the order was. And I'll explain it real quick here. So Ann Taylor put in a motion to add more exhibits at trial. And typically when you file a motion, you put in an order granting. And Judge Hippler decided to cross out granting, stamp it denied, and then he put a note. Evidence will not be admitted until offered at the appropriate witness something, 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 Hippler. And this is, in fact, what Ann Taylor was going to present had this been admitted into evidence at trial. This document right here is what Hippler did not want the jury to see, sadly. And this is basically the FBI report from their laboratory in Salt Lake City. In fact, let me read you in layman's terms what this report states. Clearly, bottom line is that these are forensic trace reports, hair and fiber analysis from the FBI lab. And basically it looked at hair and fiber samples from all the victims and Kohberger, the crime scene, and his apartment. And what happened in Report Lab 4? They didn't find any of Kohberger's hair on the victims or in the house. And what did Report 12 find? They looked at vacuum sweepings from Kohberger's Hyundai Elantra and clothes. They didn't find any of the victims' hairs there either. They did find dog hairs, but they did not match it to Murphy the dog from the King Road house. And why does this even matter? Because both the prosecution and defense agreed the judge would almost certainly allow these reports into evidence at trial. The content of these reports are so important. They show no hair matches between Kohberger, the victims, or Murphy the dog. That doesn't prove innocence or guilt by itself, but it means there were no forensic fiber hair transfer found where one might expect it had been in close contacts. Bottom line, no Kohberger's hair was found on the victim or at the crime scene. No victim hair was found in Kohberger's car or laundry. And dog hairs found didn't belong to Murphy. The evidence is being added without a fight and shows an absence of expected forensic links. I'm blown away because both prosecution and defense means they stipulated. That means they agreed to allow this in at trial. But the judge doesn't need to settle the dispute here. It's basically, we're both fine with adding this, but Judge Hippler said no. Other side could have fight it, either side, or they could agree. Normally, when one side of the prosecution or defense wants to add evidence, they file a motion asking the judge, and that's what was done. It blows my mind. Here's just another no smoking gun that we've been waiting on. You can go through the evidence at yourself at Justice for All. That's 4 spelled out, ALL.com. Look at the documents. They're already uploaded for you to review. I've made it so easy and simple. Go look for yourself, folks. You want to know this. It is absolutely imperative that you know this. I'll bring you more documents as they're unsealed, but please take a look at these for yourself. You know the drill. Y'all are amazing at sharing what I find. So basically, that's the video that started it all last night. And where are we out today? Well, let me show you. This DNA breakdown is from the document that was filed by the state. The state went out, and let me share this with you. The state went out, and they basically got a third-party DNA for Maddie Mogen's body. Now, they've not released any other documents for Ethan, Xana, or Kaylee, but Maddie. I don't know why they've chosen just this one. I'm sure there's others. They're releasing only certain bits and pieces of evidence. But everything they've released so far is a nothing burger. Nothing on Kohberger. Nothing. On April 5th, this report came back from an expert that was going to testify. And you can see on this 25-page document, this is S1A that was released in the repository. B is just procedural, and the actual document was simply basically saying that we're going to seal this document. Well, they unsealed some documents for us. And they're only choosing to unseal a few documents. I don't mean to giggle and laugh, but I think it's just crazy that they want to just show us a bit of the pie, a bit of the puzzle. They don't want to show us the whole thing just yet. Is it like spoon feeding a baby? We're going to give you just a little bit at a time for you to digest and understand, unlike the pictures and the documents they just threw at us, right? And many are still combing through those documents. A lot of you know that I am writing a book, and I'm on chapter 7 of 10. I'm almost there. But as more documents are released, I'm adding that unbiased opinion and factual evidence. So let's get into it. I want you to drop a 1 if you already knew in this chart that I shared that on Kaylee's, on Maddie's body, obviously 83% of the DNA was hers. 12% was Kaylee's. That's probably because they went out, they touched, they hugged. Kaylee was next to her, right? So the other 4% that they were able to narrow this 25-page document, which I'll show you page for page, word for word, so that you get the idea. And then I'm going to show you the end result, is that 4% of the DNA found on Maddie's body. This is not Maddie's fingernails. This is Maddie's personal body. Remember, Maddie was sleeping. There was no fight. If there was a fight with Maddie, there would be more DNA. And I'm going to logically break this down step by step, in my opinion. Okay? So Maddie's sleeping. We know that she was intoxicated. I don't know about you, but I'm an ex-military member. And when I was back in the day, before I had kids, They would let us drink on base at the clubs. And I was 18, but I was allowed to drink as long as you were on base. And I had a few benders when I was 18, 19 down in San Diego, right? And I'll tell you, I would go home and I would pass out. What about you? I mean, I'd just go home and pass out. I didn't care if I was hungry. I was just tired, a little tipsy. I was out. One drink, I'm already turned red and ready to go to bed, guys. That's just my body structure, histamine issues. I don't drink because of that. So 4% on Maddie's body was female. A tiny bit of that DNA was male. Tiny bit. So unknown female, unknown male. But the majority of DNA was 4% female. Now hold your thoughts on this. Hold your thoughts. Okay? Because I want you to have an open mind. An open mind, because after reading the ISP reports, the MPD reports, I have a lot of notes and knowledge. And I'm trying to get everyone up to speed. And that's why I've been doing these videos over the last few weeks. If you go back and look at the histories of the videos I've made, I lead you up to the step we're on now. So if you haven't seen any videos, go back and watch them. Mostly lives. I don't do short videos. I mean, long form videos. I do lives and I do promos, is what you want to call them. Just short videos. Now, 4% was known to be female and 1% male. So the greater chance of who killed Maddie Mogen was left DNA on their bodies. Maddie was an easy, per se, unaliving. I don't say that with any disrespect. It was just from a vantage point, in my humble opinion. So it could have been a female that unalived Maddie Mogen. Definitely. 4% DNA is a lot. And I'll show you how they came down with that breakdown. In this report, it tells you the background, the experience, the curriculum, vitae, whatever, CV, his background, an expert witness in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, and Connecticut, and in the Superior Court of DC. He's been qualified as an expert in molecular biology and forensic biology. The key word you want to focus in here is on forensic biology. That is forensic DNA. He's the owner of Gustav and Sons, which we see on the letterhead up here, sworn testimony and reports. He's the laboratory for the Nicaragua County Sheriff's Office forensic reports and in the state of New York. So they got somebody from New York to come down here and take a look at all the DNA. This guy has got some massive background, and also just phenomenal. He knows what he's doing. He's accredited. Okay. Overseas genetics in Denmark, has asked for help. He's the Department of Forensics Genetics, DNA analysis for law and legal community, backup with task groups in the military. I mean, you can see his whole background. Just phenomenal. Okay. And so when you look at this, you think, okay, we got an expert. He's going to tell us that Koberger is guilty, right? That's what everybody was saying and thinking. And this comes out, and now we have creators backtracking and saying they're not going to cover this case anymore. And yeah, now we know why. Now that the truth is being shared, they would hope that they would bury this case. But now that we've got this out in the open, out in public, out on a website you can easily share, we are gaining more traction than any news media outlet. The news isn't even touching this. I don't even think Megyn Kelly may touch on this, but if she does, good for her. We have to have 1 or 2 or 3 or a handful of cheerleaders out there sharing. Dude's innocent. Factually innocent. Until we know or we see a smoking gun other than a strategic plea deal to save his life, we need to see hardcore evidence. But we're seeing hardcore evidence that the person that unalived Maddie Mogen was a female. Now, it says, I was retained by the Latah County Prosecutor's Office, William Thompson, prosecuting attorney, in the matter of Idaho v. Koberger to review the DNA testing conducted by the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab. ISP went in there and got this data. And basically, he reviews everything, and he comes back and he says, this is just a sample of the body of person A, Maddie Mogen. And they go through a specific individual laboratory and they benchmark it between ISP and cybergenetics. And they go for true allele. It's basically a software program generating data. And he's reviewed everything and he puts his stamp of approval. And he basically says, which you could read all this, technological information. But basically he goes down and he spends about 10 pages explaining the alleles, genetic genealogy, genetic DNA. Obviously you get, and I have a background in genetics, guys. I bet you didn't know that. Yeah. I'll tell you about that someday. But basically you're born with 2 DNA strands, one for mom, one for dad, and you've got alleles. And in those alleles, he basically says that this person is a heterozygous pair of alleles. And that's how they break it down to figure out who's who. Is it a male or a female? Very easy, very basic genetics. But when you start looking at the details, it starts to form a profile. And what did they get to at this point? All this is mumbo jumbo, like I said. They found 4 alleles detected. What are those 4 alleles? Well, remember the pie chart I just showed you? Kaylee is 1, Maddie is 1, the unknown female is 1, the unknown male is 1. That's 4 alleles. 4 individuals. And then they break it down further, X and Y, what's a guy, what's a girl. And they find that in this true factual allele, one is a female and one is a male. And then they break it down even further with this software, cybergenetics, by the way, versus the ISP lab. So what did the ISP lab state? And I'm going to get back down to my little graph. Hold on. ISP stated, and this is where it comes in plain language terms that you can understand, because I'm just going to tell you right now. They come in with 4 subsets, which basically means they didn't eliminate anyone. Okay? Typically, they will benchmark it against victims, against roommates, against suspects that they believe. And in this case, they only ruled out one person, and that was Brian Koberger. Now, let me explain why, in my humble opinion, I believe they wanted to only narrow it down to exclude or include Koberger. They weren't here to prove who did it. They were here to prove if Koberger did it or not. My money on this question 3, it was to conduct an independent analysis of the results. So ISP tested Koberger. ISP didn't test any suspects they followed or the FBI followed in their vehicles or did first or second or third interviews. Their goal was not to prove if someone else was guilty. Now, the findings they found is that, and I broke it down in a pie chart for you, 1.3% was male, so that's the 1%, and 4% was female. I just made an easy chart for you guys to see that. And this was the interpretation of the lab. ISP lab determined something different than a higher expert with better equipment and better data, better software, kind of like an AI type of high intelligent breakdown. Now, when you look at this, Maddie Mogen cannot be excluded as a potential contributor because that was her body's DNA. Kaylee cannot be excluded as a potential contributor because they were found in the same room. They probably, as you saw, had a lot of interaction at the grub truck. And then the third person that was tested, Kohberger was excluded as a potential contributor to the mixed DNA profile. Now, mind you, here it is. I'm going to blow it up for you so you can see it better. Now, mind you, the lab, is that good? Yeah. Mind you, the lab did not test anyone else's DNA. They did not test anyone else's DNA. That's not what the goal was. Now, the sad thing about it is that in that breakdown, Maddie Mogen was 83%, Kaylee was 12%, like I showed you on the pie chart I made. But an unknown male DNA component was so little, guys. It was so little. And based on this report, ISP said no, there was only 3. This expert said no, there was 4. So, I mean, very tiny little male DNA, so which leads to a female allegedly unalived, murdered, Maddie Mogen, while she in fact was in her own bed. And that killer waited, alleged, per the ISP reports, until they knew she was in her bed. And this is what I've been saying all along. I have been saying that Maddie was in bed. Kaylee did wake up. Some of the story that Dylan says is factual, and about 95% of it, in my humble opinion, is fake. And I'll get to why I believe that. By the process of elimination in that house. But let's take a look at his professional opinion that was based on the ISP Forensic Laboratory and cybergenetics for Maddie Mogen's body. He basically says right here, that the LCR calculated profiles further support exactly what they thought. It was inconclusive for Brian Kohberger. Wow. Inconclusive. Yep, folks. There it is. And a match between item 13.1, the body sample from Maddie Mogen and Brian Kohberger, is 5,000 times less probable and a coincidental match to an unrelated African American person, and 68,000 times less probable than a coincidental match unrelated to a Caucasian person, and 100,000 times less probable than a coincidental match to an unrelated Hispanic person. So which one do you think it could have been? 5,000 times less probable. These are just, it's not absolute. These are just ratios. Just ratios. And it's sad that we have to wait for these reports that have been hidden to come out with the truth. So is Brian a perhaps informant? Works for an agency and they threw him under the bus? Or is he truly just an innocent bystander that someone gave his name out there, that was being interviewed by the FBI, and the FBI told Moscow, go look at this guy. He fits our profile. He fits our profile. I do not believe that, in my humble opinion, this was some random cartel hit. I do not believe that one bit. It was someone who knew these individuals, that knew the situation. Now, if you break it down and you look at all the facts and you look at the ISP documents, Maddie, Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana had all one thing in common. More common than the other two roommates. Those four wanted out. They didn't want any part of the Greek life system. They didn't want that life. They saw what that life really was with Caden Young, Hannah, Clary, Lindo. They saw what that life meant, and they did not want any part of that, in my humble opinion. We all have thoughts. We all have our own humble opinion. But in my logical mind, looking at the evidence, looking at statements, we can't rule it out that it was somebody that they knew. You can't rule it out. Somebody had to have known. Were there any witnesses other than those saying, oh, the dog this, the dog that, Murphy, anyone walking through the house? Everybody knew, everybody had a code. But here's the deal. In statements, you have to rule out who was left in the house. Who was left in the house? Elam was left after watching Vampire Diaries. Maddie and Kaylee went to bed. We know that because Kaylee was in her room and the covers were pulled back. We knew that Maddie was in her own bed, passed out, perhaps intoxicated. But nobody knew when Xana and Ethan came home. And how did they come home? Something had to have happened to them before Maddie and Kaylee. And I have always said that Maddie woke up hearing someone come back to return Ethan and Xana. I've always said that. Always. And was Bethany even really there? Those are the questions we need to ask. Was Bethany actually really there? By her statements, she was. She heard the firecracker and saw the light from under her door. Her bedroom, when they checked it, there was a broken dresser and it looked like it had been rummaged through. What was that all about? What was that all about? And the timeline has to be between 3 and 4. There were clues left on Kaylee's phone. And where is Kaylee's phone? Who has Kaylee's phone? How much information was on Kaylee's phone that could put anyone in a bad light that everyone was so worried about? Because of what happened to Hunter Lindo, Caden Young, happened after the unalivings. Was he the loose end? So many things add up, but yet some things make no sense. Now, Dylan obviously didn't look like she had any injuries or bruising. I know a lot of people have said that. If so, it would have been shared. Now, was Dylan's DNA ever really taken? And why was it not benchmarked against the other DNA? Because Dylan was not on trial. Dylan was not indicted. She did not have charges. We can blame Dylan all day long, but there were no witnesses. She was the only one that was standing there with the officers giving a testimony, giving her facts of what happened. Bethany was only standing in the background listening, saying, probably, what the hell's going on? You saw her pull up in the video. Think about this. In the ISP, there's a redacted interview. It shows all the notes. Her lawyer was present on the camera or on Zoom call with all these other detectives asking Dylan question after question after question. And then all of a sudden, it says so-and-so had follow-up questions, and they stopped the interview, folks. Yes. They had follow-up questions, and they stopped the interview. What do you think her attorneys did? What do you think happened? Right here. Page 18 in the ISP reports. 114. Blank had some follow-up questions for blank outside of the interview, and as a result, the audio recording was turned off at 2:11 p.m. this same date. Vicky Gooch. We're going to learn more and more as the weeks progress. On September 19th, there's going to be a huge document drop. A huge drop. Now, I want to take you back in time. A little bit further back in time. Now, I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of small and I can't enlarge it. It doesn't give me that option. Let me see. Does it? More tools? No, it doesn't give me that option. Let me screenshot it real quick so that you can see this on your own. This was obviously another 401. If you guys know what a 401 is, when you go to a website that has a synopsis of what it's going to tell you, it gives you an error that is no longer available. And I want to prove to you right now that it says 401. When I go to this link, it gives me, I'll show you in 1 minute. It gives me a 401 and it's waiting to load. So hold on. But anyways, it might take some time because I can't find it. Shoot. Anyways, the New York Post posted this. Exclusive. Surviving roommate of University of Idaho massacre. Speaking publicly for the first time, Patricia Monroe said that her stepdaughter, Dylan, is doing okay since Brian Koberger allegedly slaughtered her 4 friends. Wow. You go back to look at that news article, gone. Disappeared. Totally gone. Then you go to another one and you look at the interview that was said to be done here. And you can go down. This is all public information. This is why I'm sharing it with you. It said there's a lot of guilt because, if someone says, oh, well, Dylan was so lucky, you don't want to take out that luck. Because the children deserved luck. All children deserved luck. They deserve to be spared from that, Monroe told the Post. Again, Dylan's stepmom. Since the death of her roommates, Mortonstead has changed schools, according to a stepmother who declined to identify the new university. Now, I don't know if this is Dylan, but it's out on LinkedIn, and she says, or someone says, there's 3 connections, and she's in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's at ASU University, and she's studying, I believe, accounting or something of that fact. Okay? But then look at all the profiles that are associated when you bring her up. Hunter Chapin, Stacey Chasen, Ashlyn Couch, Quinn Kelly, Steve Goncalves. You get the drill. They're all related or connected, because that's what happens when you have a social profile. It links you to people that you know or that would be interesting to know because of this individual. All right? And then we go, and someone else, if not her, has said that she was a student at Boise Senior High, and she hasn't posted, but she's got 4 followers. And there's some more information, more profiles for you. Brett Payne, Stacey Chapin, Steven, which I believe is, it doesn't say Steve, it says Steven. David Loach, Ashlyn Couch. You know the drill, right? So what am I trying to get at? You can go and you can watch this page all day long if you wanted. Busted in Boise. And every morning I wake up and I wait for the day to see if anyone in Ada County has been arrested for murder. Because if you go through the ISP documents, they followed 3 individuals in Boise, 1 in a blue car, a silver car, and a white car. And do you know in the ISP documents, they actually listed the individuals picking up Maddie and Kaylee were in a blue car per witnesses? Now, we thought she got in with someone else, right? We thought that they got in, but witnesses are saying that they got in a blue vehicle. I don't know who they thought someone was getting in the car with, but they ended up home safe. They know that they made it back home. And I still go through and I still look to see who's being arrested in Boise and Latah County, because I hope one day we see the actual perpetrators arrested for this unaliving, because right now it doesn't look like it's Kohberger at all. Not from the FBI reports, not from the DNA reports on Maddie Mogen's body so far. So where are the rest of them? Where are the rest of them? Are we ever going to see those reports? What do you think? Do you think, drop a 1, if we'll ever know for certain who did this? Drop a 1 if you think we're ever going to really find out who did this. Yep, it was a Honda Civic blue car. Honda Civic blue car. That's what it was said in the witness statements. Bottom line with all this evidence, we do know for Maddie Mogen, most likely, more than likely, murdered by a female. And that makes my skin crawl. Because who was awake? Well, everyone else was going to sleep. Sitting and waiting. Inside or outside the house. Now remember, Emma Bailey was arrested and booked for the murder of Caden Young with Demetrius, public record. They were both released. If they would have thought, now remember, everything that was given to us is just public record. If any of these individuals were privately tested, we don't know. We don't know if the state did test these people. We don't know what they did. Have no idea. We're only given a certain narrative. And according to this 25-page report that I'm adding to our website. I'll just add it as a PDF. The Idaho State Police Lab used DNA software that applied cutoff only, counting DNA signals above a certain strength. Cybergenetics, on the other hand, used a software called True Allele, which is more sensitive and picked up a lot more weak signals. And the difference between those two, ISP saw 61 DNA markers and suggested 3 people. Cybergenetics saw 140 markers and suggested a 4-person mixture. So first ISP said no, it was 3 people. It was Maddie, Kaylee, and the unaliver, which they thought was a male. And Cybergenetics comes in and says, no. It's 4 people. It's actually 4 people. A male, a female, and the victims. Yeah, it makes my skin crawl to know, if you haven't watched my videos of what's been going on for the last few weeks, what the FBI statistics are in regards to unalivers. Don't forget to read my post. Don't forget. Because not too long ago, I basically posted this. And a lot of people were like, huh? Why would she even post this? I'm going to show you in a minute. Let me get there. I put some key documents up there. See, I can come on here and I can tell you all freaking day long. And you don't have to think for yourself. I mean, some people need to be spoon-fed. And that's just the way it is. I get it. I like a little bit of a chase. I don't know about you. I like to look in things for myself to see if people are legitimately saying the truth. I want to know. And I'm going to go find out. And I'm going to dig for myself. That's why I don't watch other creators. I want to know the truth. I want to look at everything. And I want to inform my own opinion. I don't want anyone telling me without factual information. This is what I shared 9 days ago about the FBI statistics. You are more likely to be unalived by family, 47%. The other breakdown of the other 29.2% is acquaintances or a friend. Acquaintance is a business partner, somebody that you work with, or a friend. And then a friend drops 50% to a boyfriend, and then higher for a girlfriend. Girlfriends are more likely to unalive their boyfriends than boyfriends are unaliving their girlfriends. A neighbor was significantly a small part. An employee, small part. Employer, small very part. This is the FBI statistics. Only 12% were slain by family members, and 10% were killed by strangers. So you are more likely to be unalived by somebody that is an acquaintance, a friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a neighbor, people. This is the FBI statistics, and this was only in 2015. This report isn't even, I'm talking about this report. It's not even up on my screen. This report was done in 2015 by the FBI. Think about these statistics. It is unbelievable, but yet it's a statistical report. Statistical. Do I believe any cops were involved in this or involved in the unaliving? Absolutely not. I don't think so at all. Some of these guys wouldn't even risk their jobs for college kids. But I think we're looking at the bigger picture here, is why the innocent plead guilty and the guilty go free. I covered this a little while ago too. Definitely go look into that. And at the end of the day, I believe that evidence of DNA doesn't lie. Do you trust the DNA process in our society right now. Drop a 1 if you trust the DNA process. I mean, yes, DNA can find you guilty or not guilty or exonerate you, but do you believe that DNA works both ways? I do. I really do. And think about this. Dylan saw someone with a mask on in a high contact fight with 2 individuals. That's the narrative. And not once did he shed any sweat DNA, any eyebrow hair DNA, no under the fingernail DNA, no body DNA, no stalking, no contact with the victims, with that house. The more and more evidence they release shows us that he is infactual. Like Ann Taylor said, factually innocent. And why do you think the police were probably covering up, if alleged cover-up took place? What do you think? Dylan's stepmom, a lot of people, if you don't know this, if you do, great. I have been trying to tell everyone this for a very long time. She has roots in Utah. She worked in Boise, is an attorney, and was a former Ada County prosecutor. Now, these are all public. It doesn't take a rocket science to find someone. Nobody's doxing anyone. It's all public information out there. All public. But when you think about it, the connections, the individuals, the knowledge, it's wild when you start looking at all the bigger picture. Yes, allegedly she worked for the Ada County Prosecutor's Office. The only way that I could find out if she actually did was to go to the repository, do a smart search. Any attorneys that work in cases will pop up of any of the cases they've ever covered. However, in her case, the repository does not show anything. Now, I've got old records that show that she worked in the prosecutor's office. The only thing I found in her file was she had a speeding ticket. A simple speeding ticket. That was it. But none of her cases pop up at all. None of her cases pop up. So, my humble opinion, DNA doesn't lie. 83% was Maddie's, 12% was Kaylee's, 5% from unknown contributors, and 1% was male, which leaves a female. In my humble opinion, the DNA male was important. It shows male was in contact, but the amount was too small to build a profile. Those were my notes from the document. The expert stressed that DNA was not Koberger's, but suggests a male was among the contributors. Do we know for a fact that that was a female that perpetrated this crime? More likely, because Maddie didn't put up a fight. She couldn't put up a fight. And if I was her parents, I would be fighting. I would be fighting to find out the truth. My heart breaks for these families. This is how vindictive and evil and horrible the criminal justice system. Are these people really in business for justice? That's what I ask myself every single day. I know it's a business. I know their return on investment is based on how much money that they can make. Think about how much money that they have made in this case. Not just the families, but the individuals. Was that their payoff, to be quiet and just go along with it? This tells the story of the bombshell evidence. I believe the families do know the truth, and they're not going to speak up out of fear. So for now, we'll speak up for Bryan Kohberger's innocence. And it's standard investigative practice to collect all DNA from victims, surviving roommates, anyone else with legitimate access to the house, boyfriends, close friends, etc. It's called elimination sampling. They rule out people whose DNA might appear naturally in the home, like on toothbrushes, hair brushes, shared items, dryers, hair dryers. It's their job to rule out surfaces. So until more records are released to the public and they're available, which I've been checking the repository since this morning when I woke up, I'm sure there are going to be new documents later on today. They've released so many at a time. And I'll be here to share with you as soon as I know, you'll know. So make sure you guys like and follow. If you have any questions, let's do a Q&A. Let's see what you got on your minds. Let's see. Families know. I believe so. Christina, I truly believe that people know. People know, guys. People know. Heck no, I'm not going out to drink from a Mountain Dew and leave my car can out. Toss it and, yep, that's right. It is. That's what happens. You toss that water ball in the back of a car. Yep. Yes, guys. Oh my gosh, that just bring me at a Christina, you are so intelligent, girlfriend. She's a flight risk. Oh my gosh. Let me just tell you this. Look at this. You don't think she's a flight risk? She's out of state, allegedly in school in another location. And then you have this. And what I'm about to tell you probably won't shock you. But girlfriend, pull up a chair. Get your coffee. Get your tea. It's tea time. Did you all know that Moscow Police Department gave Dylan back her passport? Did you know that? Did you know that? Yes. In the documents, it stated clearly. Let me see if I can pull it up. They gave her back her passport and her belongings. Yes. A lot of people are like, what? No way. Yes. I'm going to find the document so I can show you guys. You guys are going to be like, what the heck? Based on the statistics I showed you. Based on the statistics I showed you, don't you think they would have withheld a passport? Now that this girl has this much money, let me see if it'll pull it up. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. No, I'm not a bullshitter. I'm telling you exactly what I read, what I took notes in, and here it is. Danny Vargas on 12/12/22, Christmas, around Christmas, DM property released to attorney. Her attorney got all this stuff at approximately 11:30. I met with RM and DM, which is RM is the mother, her real mother, that works for the U of I in Boise, and DM. And they came to the city of Moscow to release the following items. Passport was the very first item there. Jewelry, a small black purse, Nike Air Jordan shoes, and a North Face puffy black coat. Right there. She signed for the items and said she would meet with D and find out when she would be collecting the remainder of her items. The signed release is attached electronically to the case file. There you go, folks. She got her passport. Ding, ding, ding. Doesn't surprise me. Even for a witness. You don't want witnesses just disappearing, do you? I wouldn't if I was handling a case like this. That is a great point, Christina. I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, they did return her passport in 2022. You guys are funny. September Virgo. Guys, they held on to her passport for almost, 5 weeks? They held on to her passport for a reason. Because if you remember something that I shared that just triggered me to talk about. If you remembered what I shared, let me just pull it up and I'll show you. I was doing a guess the document. This document right here. Hold on. This document right here. Can you see this? Yes, you can. This document right here. There was a suspect being followed in Boise. 2 silver and 1 white car was with his mom. It never said who the other individuals were in this document that they were followed from Boise. Have you guys ever read or seen this document? Let me pull it up. This one is very interesting. And it is supplement 0027 ISP. If you don't have the documents, you can download them from the fabulous website. And this is the surveillance right here. Surveillance, Idaho State Police. At approximately 7:30 p.m. It ended. This is 7:30 p.m. The surveillance ended. But let me go back to when it started. How about that one for you since you mentioned this? So, Detective ISP, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Boise is right next to Meridian. The state headquarters for the Idaho State Police is in Meridian. It's right down the road from Dairy Queen. And it's right next to the Speedway, which we used to go to all the time. The Idaho State Police detectives conducted a surveillance, and a potential operation was conducted on a potential homicide suspect. Guys, this was on December the 5th. The investigation led them to Boise, where a lot of these kids were from. Okay? So, the suspect 1, yes, there were other suspects. Remember when I got hiccups. I don't know what happened. Remember when I share these pictures, it was part of my original thought process. Suspect 2, 3, 4. Well, here we have in black and white, in color, purple, suspect number 1, a 21-year-old male. This was way before Brian Koberger was arrested, folks. Way before. And they say this individual hometown is Boise. All right? Not of Hispanic origin. They do this for a reason when they put this information. They do it for a reason. They want you to know and get an idea of who it is, even though they redacted this information. So on December 3rd, ISP conducted a surveillance. It was conducted on a potential homicide suspect identified as blankety blank, date of birth 2001. Now, if you can put the pieces together, you know who this individual is. And because it's redacted, I'm not going to say. I could assume, but I'm not going to even allege. You have to know your legal rights when you talk about a case. I'm not going to out anyone. But do I know? You can get a hint. So, it was a silver vehicle right here, a regular passenger automobile. If it was a van, it would say van. If it was an SUV, it would say SUV. This is a sedan, 4-door. And it says automobile includes pickups, minivans. Now remember, some trucks have 4 doors. Okay? Follow the logic. Approximately 11:55 at night, surveillance units, more than one, set up around the residence. Okay? They observed 3 vehicles parked at the residence. The following vehicles were observed. Now, silver bearing Idaho license plate. They were following Idaho residents. So 2 silver and 1 white vehicle. They had it all registered. They knew who these individuals were. At approximately 5:43, Detective P, that's all I'm going to say because it's Pohanka, observed an individual believed to be blankety blank leave the residence in a silver blankety blank, took multiple routes in a random manner. Dudes, this guy probably knew he was being surveillanced. He was so freaked out that they narrowed it down to him. He possibly was driving randomly, right? In a random manner. The routes ultimately took surveillance units in multiple circles around Boise. Do you think that he knew he was being tailed, guys? Drop a 1. Have you ever seen this before, guys? Have you read this document? Has anybody shared with you this document yet? So, at approximately 6:32, the guy returns to his house on blank drive. Now, keep in mind that this individual has 2 other individuals at the residence. So, did he lead one of the surveillance away from the house while something happened at the house? Yeah, I think he knew. At approximately 8:11, he observes an individual believed to be blank leave the residence. Surveillance units follow him to a gas station located at blank in Boise. Idaho State Police Detective Sergeant D. Cortez observed what appeared to be blank go in the gas station at approximately 8:23 at night, left the gas station, and drove to a residence near blank street in Boise, parked on the street. He did not get out of the vehicle. Now, keep in mind, they're only giving us a part of the story here. They're not giving us the whole story. Okay? And approximately 8:30, Sergeant Cortez observed an individual get into the blank blank and leave together. So they're parked at a residence, and then they get in the car and leave together. At approximately 8:36, blank and his passenger arrive back at the same gas station on blank and observes the passenger exit the vehicle and go into the gas station. At approximately 8:41, blank and his passenger left the blank. And then the surveillance units follows blank to an apartment complex near the intersection of blankety blank in Boise, Idaho. All of the occupants of the vehicle get out and went into the apartment complex. They stay approximately 45 minutes. Well, actually, let me back that up. It says at approximately 9:30 p.m. surveillance ended. They don't say why. They just say it ended. So they go back the next day and they set up surveillance again. And it looks like a night detail or afternoon second shift detail, because at 3:44, they observed the individual believed to be blank leave with his mom. Leave with his mom. And here's the deal. They don't give any location details. I know where this individual lives. And they don't leave any breadcrumbs in here. None. No breadcrumbs for you. The surveillance ended and he ended up back at the located Boise, Idaho. And then it says, and where this individual lives, not a lot of people live. So if you see some obvious cars that look like detective cars or strangers out in the area. Yeah, know your surroundings. Then blank followed him inside and attempted to positively identify him, and identified him as someone who looked like the blank, but was later identified to be blank's brother. So this guy that they were surveillancing had a brother that looked like him. I can only think of one person. They already knew who his mom was because they talked to him, and they talked to her in another document in the ISP guys. They talk with her and they say, I don't know why he's like been pegged and involved. Remember, I shared this with you. They already talked to her. And they talked with her with an attorney present. Okay, so these kind of go together. He was later identified to be his brother, and then approximately 4:17, Blank and his mother arrived back at their house. And then, about 40 some minutes later, another trooper observed an individual appearing to resemble Blank leave the residence in a silver Blank. Detective followed the vehicle to the Blank gas station located at Blank in Boise and watched Blank pump gas into the Blank. Detectives followed him to St. Luke's. Okay, this was on December 4th, right? They follow this guy to the hospital. If you don't know, St. Luke's is a hospital. And they eventually turned up Warm Springs, where detectives lost sight of him. Okay, I'm going to give you an idea of where that is, and then you can put the 2 and 2 together. Okay, Warm Springs, Boise, Idaho. Okay, this is the area that you're looking at. This is Warm Springs. Now, if you zoom out, you've got a beautiful golf course in a neighborhood where the average house is over, maybe 600 to $1 million, 2+. You can get an idea of who lives in this area because that is the only breadcrumb they leave in here. And by the way, if you ever visit Idaho in Boise, go to this. I used to be a member, every year member of the botanical garden right here. This place is absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to get married there, but we decided on another location. It is beautiful. If you've never been there, I'll just throw that in for you. I was a member every year. They have oh gosh, this is beautiful. We'll have to do a side note video, but they have a winter wonderland there. It is so absolutely gorgeous. The whole place is just so beautiful. We've been to so many concerts there. We Dashboard Confessionals we saw there. Just a beautiful venue. Absolutely beautiful if you ever visit Boise. But let me say this. This area is rich and elite, okay? This area is absolutely rich and elite. And this area is, Table Rock's gorgeous too, if you ever go climb Table Rock. All this area back here is hiking area. So if you think of hiking, camping, and an individual that lives on a golf course, because look, this is the city all down here. Look at all these little tiny houses, and then look up here. These houses are built high up in elevation. Let me see if I could just show you. Hold on a minute. I don't think it's going to give me that option. Shoot. I don't remember which button I have to show you the houses, but this is a really nice big area. Okay. Huge. Yeah, I tell everyone not even to touch Idaho. I know. But if you're going there and you have to go there for business, or if you have to go see something, those are some areas that you definitely want to go to. But these houses up here in Warm Springs, it'll let me zoom in a little bit more. These houses are pretty big houses, guys. Okay. I mean, you're looking at Upper Boise, right? I don't know if it'll let me click on these, but this is what you're looking at. You're not looking at the little tiny homes across the other side where they're townhomes or individuals, or the old historic town, right? Old historic town, much more expensive homes. We're looking at this side of the canal. So you can kind of get an idea, right? So let me go back to the document. And then they say that they observe a male get into the vehicle and then left and parked the parking lot located in blank blank. And then they observe everyone exit the vehicle and they went inside the gas station, right? So why would everybody go? This gas station is very popular gas station, I suppose. They're always getting gas at this gas station. And then they followed the individuals to the house located in Boise where all the occupants went inside. Yes, they were tailing and surveillancing on December the 5th, 2022, just weeks after the unaliving. And they identified someone as going into St. Luke's, towards the St. Luke's. They lost sight of him. I wonder if they went to the hospital. And why do we not see anyone subpoena Boise St. Luke's to see if anyone had an injury? Because they sure, I mean, all the other warrants that came back for state police, he says in his own words, I was shocked. I was shocked for the warrants for all clinics that came back negative in the area. Well, how come they didn't go to Boise? Why did they not go to Boise, guys? I mean, they had presumptive blood at somebody's doorstep. That didn't mean the individual inside did anything. But if they didn't do warrants for those health clinics in Boise, let me show you the document that I'm talking about. This one right here. Let me remove this and get this up here. On 12/6, just the day after they were surveillancing them, it says, beginning on December 6th, Idaho State Detective, yada, 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 contacted hospitals and medical clinics that provided service for Moscow, Idaho, and surrounding areas to inquire about any patients treated for knife wounds. So my first thought goes to, well, they know that these kids in the area that are going to school in Moscow, some of them are from Eagle, Meridian, Boise, Nampa. I mean, they know they're from other areas. And if they were even possibly involved in this heinous unaliving, don't you think they would have gone more surrounding areas? They are the Idaho State Police. They are competent, folks. But why would they not expand this to know the areas of these kids' families? They go to Star and interview people. They go to Eagle and interview people. They go to Boise and they interview people. They go to Meridian. Why did they not ask for any patients treated for knife wounds in the following days of the homicides? Why did they not do that? Oh, I know the reason behind Jackass, and I can give you statistical data and how much money they donate to these schools out there, and all their family are medical. All his brothers and sister, they're all doctors. It's all factual public knowledge. You can go to, here, I'll show you. It's all public info. University of Idaho. There was a huge, they were politically involved in this bill. I'll show you. Oh, okay. So if you don't know anything, it's public information what I'm about to share with you, because this is background. Okay. There were hundreds of doctors that were asking lawmakers to vote no on premature medical education bill. What was this bill about? It was about the University of Washington multi-state medical educational program. It named all the members, everything about this. Okay. And this was in, I want to say I think it started in 2022. Don't quote me on the date. Okay. Idaho State's Journal did an article on this. And let me show you. And I don't know if anybody knows this. I'm just sharing something that I had found a long time ago. Here it is. Where are we at? Here it is. Idaho 6 News. Let me share this on my screen. Idaho 6 News did a report. Let's hope it pops up. And, oh, come on. Did I lose you guys? No, I'm here. You're here. It is just taking a long time for this to come through. So, there is a history. Let me see if I can share this with you. It keeps telling me I can't share my screen. I wonder why. Okay, there. There is a history of individuals in this family. Okay. He graduated from medical school in 2022, has 3 years of experience. Okay. They're all over, guys. And if you know anything about the history of this family, they are involved in this bill that wanted to eliminate schooling in the area and funding for some of these what do I want to say? Some of the funding. Okay. So he goes on to say that he's always aspired to become a doctor. I grew up in a family of doctors. By high school, I pretty much knew what I was going the doctor route. Okay. I know a lot of you people maybe know this already. Some people have said they followed him, but this is for information for those who don't know. This is all public information. Okay. So WWAMI was Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho medical school program. It's been a resource for Idaho students for over 50 years. Well, they wanted to do away with this, and everyone had to go to Utah now. That's back then and what happened now. So under this bill, it would phase out and replace it with at least 2 new medical programs in Idaho. So the medical professionals were concerned about the lack of clear replacement. Where would they go? Because in the tri-state areas, the only place to go was that available. So all these doctors got together and they wanted to stop this bill, in which they didn't, right? So when you look back at the University of Idaho, and I'll bring it up because it's in the repository. Hold on, let me pull it up. Where is it at? Let me see if I saved it. I thought I bookmarked it. Here it is. Let me see if it's still populated. Hold on. They did crowdfunding, and they also did some research funding, and they also donate to the University of Idaho. And in University of Idaho, it's all public information that all of these family members are there as donators. Okay, so they go out, become doctors, and they make donations to the University of Idaho, which, I mean, a lot of people do give donations, right? Don't get me wrong. But I think there's a conflict of interest when something like this happens. Now, I'm not saying specifically, allegedly, that they had anything to do with it. I'm just saying their name carries weight, right? And about loyal donors in this University of Idaho public statement. And let me just go ahead and say who this is. Shoot. I wonder if they took it down, because I bookmarked it and now it says it's not available. They do it like during Vandal Giving Day. It's a way to make an impact on the future of Idaho and programs and stuff like that. Well, they list out who their University of Idaho Foundation donors are. And it was public information, but it looks like they took it down. But basically, these families were on that website is all donators. And every single one of the family members that are doctors in this family, which are all doctors, surgeon, it's crazy. It's wild. But I'm glad somebody asked that in regards to tell us more, because it led us down that rabbit hole. So, yes, most of these facts can be backed up. There's so much out there that, you know, and everybody says, oh, Jack. No, his name is John Rogers, Rodgers. It is public information, totally public information. So let me go back. I'll answer a few questions. We've been on here an hour and a half. I don't want to hold anybody up from their day. I want you guys to go out and enjoy your day, touch grass, go run errands, get some fresh oxygen. It's all about the Benjamins. Yep, pretty much. He is in Outcast Live a lot about every night. You know, is that Criminal Mind Holds? I saw him last night. I was up late looking through these documents. And speaking of documents, let me do a live dig and see if anything else has been released, because I have been waiting since the last 3 dropped, and I did videos on those. I think the Indians cursed the land. Love y'all. See you back this afternoon, Les. Have a good afternoon. Yep. Let's see what else you got. I like his videos too. Casper West does good videos. No worries, girl. I was nodding at my keyboard. I woke up at 12 and then 1 and then back. Yeah, everybody's waiting for these documents to drop. They are surely but slowly redacting. Let me see if there's anything new. No, I don't see anything new. Nope. I don't see anything. I'm sure it says this page is still updating as soon as they receive it from the local clerks. Criminal Mastermind is funny. I love how he's personal. Yeah, you know what? That was a good live last night. If you guys haven't seen Outcast, shout out to Outcast. He had Criminal Mind Holds on last night, and Outcast was just getting it was funny. And let me see if he's got it live, and I'll show you a little bit of his last night. It was pretty good. Outcast 420. Let's see. I don't know if he has any of his lives up. It was pretty good last night. Yep. Let's see. No, I don't see any of his 6 days ago. No, his live last night was legit, man. It was good. Yeah, he is awesome. I love his little kid videos. Last night he had some really good music too. No, I don't see anything of his lives. I don't see anything. Linda Lane footage. Let's see. Let's see if he's got any lives posted. Oh, yeah, he does. Hold on a minute. Let me pull this up. Let's watch him for a minute. I love watching him. Let's see. I'll spend about here. Let me start it to where Criminal Mind Holds comes on. Criminal Mind Holds actually accidentally showed his face last night. He did not mean to. He talks about Hannah Clary.
Let's talk about
on Huda.
Calling 911.
We know all about that. Let me see. Hold on. What? Oh, he showed my video last night.
This make
I didn't
sense.
know when I jumped in there, he must have already passed
I have never seen this picture until, obviously, if you go to our website, go to the ISP documents. ISP doc.
That's so funny. I didn't even know he shared that.
Class or whatever for the blank at Paradise.
Yeah.
Asked each other.
It's towards the
What'd you
end.
say there?
I came in
my
a little late.
knee up. I don't feel good, and I'm looking
messages from, like, I mean, I can't believe that. She messaged me and said someone doxed her and this and that. I'm like, that is just uncalled for. But like I said, if you are on publicly out there under your name on social media, delete, take them down, close it out, put your accounts on temporary suspend. If you don't want your name out there, don't share things publicly. It's just terrible that some people will go in and try to use it against you. It's evil. It's just evil. We live in a day and an age where you can't trust anyone, especially on the internet, folks. There's all these nice people going, how you feeling? How you feeling? And then there's scrolling. Here we go.
And shout out Fiji. I'm sorry they're doxing you, man. It's fucked up. Criminal Mind, you hear me?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Am I right to go up?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Am I right to go up or not?
Yeah, you're up here. We're good to go.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Oops, sorry.
No, we're good to go. We're live, man.
I've never been live on thingy before. Sorry.
Yeah, there's like 50,000 people here. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it? What do you want to speak about, mate?
You know what I want to speak about. What you know. What you think happened. Anything?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've spoken. Well, I don't know if it's you or your friend. I don't know. We've spoken quite a bit of me on the phone.
Yeah, we spoke.
And I was very. Yeah, and I wasn't very sure about giving the information out then. But I got dissed a lot over the last 2 weeks on YouTube. Being ignored. Had the miss taken out of me. Which I don't care because I've had that from day one. But when you start like scrolling past me when I was trying to help you, but not you, Dago, right? I found it very rude. So I thought, do you know what? Last night I went on TikTok, done my very first live. Couldn't figure out how to get people to join me, so I had to chatter in. And I just thought I'd give out some information. So I gave out the makeup website. I gave out the Twitch, could be the Twitch live stream. Gave that out. And then my anxiety started kicking in, so I thought I'll have to give it a rest. And I'm going back on there tonight. I've got like a few people coming up with me tonight. I think Les Lynn will coming up with me tonight, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Criminal. I don't want to interrupt you, so keep going.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I know I'm going to have some problems with people that believe the documents. Is it J Ray or something? I can't see no comments. Am I allowed to see comments or not?
What'd you say? Could you see the comments?
I can't see any comments. No, is that right or not?
No, you won't see any in here. We're in StreamYard. You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta kind of have two devices to fuck you. You know.
Okay. Oh, mate. Yeah. So, a lot of people believe the documents. It's still Bible by documents. The documents are BS, in my opinion. They've been BS from day one. What truths have you seen in documents? I don't know. Oh, fuck it. I'll give you the live stream Twitter if you want.
Yeah.
But should I give it to you privately?
Yeah, I'll share it for you. You can post it in here.
No, I don't mind. It's just that. Okay. Well, just let me try and get my tablet. Hang on.
All right.
It's a foreign name.
All right.
The picture above the title is Zana. All right. I've had this confirmed by Sammy T Mafia. All right. These four were not murdered in 1122. These four were murdered in Lind Lane. What you got to remember is from the start, you have, this is important, you have to take the hour off Banfield. Okay. Now, it wasn't Sherlock done that. It wasn't Edinburgh done that. I exposed that over 2.5 years ago. Okay. I said take the hour off Banfield. Yeah. Take that hour off. Yeah. Everything fits in, including Dylan's text messages at 2:12. The car going past, the runners, which are Kaylee and Maddie. Because if you look carefully, you can see Maddie's ponytail from the same as the grub truck. Is Katina in here? Is that Kaylee's Sam's mum?
What'd you say at the end there? I got everything you're saying.
There's Katrina, so isn't there?
Whose mom?
Yeah, it's someone called. No, Sam's mum.
Okay, just so you know, some background. Criminal Mind Holds is basically, he has been here during the entire time of this case. He is overseas. He follows a lot of murder cases. He's in touch with a lot of murderers. That's his background. He studies and he shares information, but he's overseas. He has no skin in the game, but people are claiming that he talks to him, people involved in this case. So if you ever want to go watch a live with him, this is probably the live you want to watch with Outcast. If you don't follow Outcast, go follow him. Shout out to him for getting Criminal Mindholds up there. There is some information he shares that is kind of maybe iffy, but there is some information that is seriously whack. And I say that in a good way. But if you've not listened to Nancy Grace, I know a lot of people don't like her. There is a new Bombshell audio she just dropped. If you haven't listened to that, you can go listen to that. There is a video of Maddie and Kaylee's mom and dad that was just released talking about the unalivings. I wanted to show just a little portion of that. If you haven't seen it yet, they talk a little bit more in detail about what Kaylee went through, and we haven't seen the documents. Obviously, the family is calling for no more of the body cam footage because you're seeing things that they feel is wrong. And also they are saying that they want to see more of the videos of basically of Kohberger, right? Kohberger this, Kohberger that. They want to see more of those videos. But let's listen to Nancy Grace. Just bear with me. I know it's hard listen for some of you, but let's just listen to this for 1 second, and we will listen to this. Hold on. Let me see if I can grab it. Nope, it's not wanting me to play it. Hold on, I'll try it again.
Bay, where designer style meets budget-friendly. Choose between a sink and feet
in real time on your phone. Please. Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Welcome to Crime Stories. Tonight is a very special night, and I'm speaking on behalf of not just myself, but our entire staff across the country, as they are, and all of our families, because we are speaking one-on-one with two very special people that you had never heard of just a few years ago, but now are icons in the crime victim community and across the world. Christy and Steve Gonsalves are joining us tonight. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass. Thank you.
I wanted to open with sound from your daughter speaking out at Brian Kohberger's sentencing. I got to tell you something. You did something right. The way you have raised your children. Mrs. Gonsalves, weren't you so proud of her? And under the worst conditions, she stood strong.
Mm-hmm. She has never ceased to amaze me throughout this whole entire process. She has just been just amazingly strong. And when we went to the sentencing, we actually did not know what each other was going to say because we did not want to influence each other's speeches. So we did not know. And it was all new. And she got up there and I was just astounded. I was just beside myself. And then when she was done, the audience or the courtroom clapped, and it was like, is that normal? I don't think people normally clap, but it was very surreal. It was very, oh my gosh, what happened? And then, we I'm like, I have to hear that again. It was just so good. Just so proud of her, of what she said. And the way she articulated it was perfect.
I'm going to play some of your daughter speaking, but as I'm looking at the two of you sitting there so close together, connected.
Now, stupid, clumsy.
I'm going to skip most of this to get where.
And we're running around the house frantic.
The weeks that this had came up to that. So I felt like I kind of wanted my family to be focused on something other than just the devastation. So I was like.
So I do know that there was a video that was out there on Nancy Grace, but it looks like they have removed it. They removed it, guys. So I was trying to get the actual video, but when you go to the video that was released 19 hours ago, they have removed it. So I don't know why, but this was available, and I'll show you real quick. This is what it says, video unavailable. Okay, similar content will begin. And they show August 9th video. So I don't know why it was removed. So I went to her website, and this is the one they released yesterday on audio.
Get a hold of a neighbor, and the more information that we found, it just felt like that was at least something to grab, that's something we could control, go away from just being victims to being investigators of what happened to our child. And we did find out a bunch of things.
And Jill, you make a very good point. Yes, download as much as you can when it comes out, because that video is now gone.
Those 48 hours from people that were just reaching out and saying, hey, you know, this is what I know. I was right across the street. This is what's going on. You know, and we just went from there.
I remember what you said, Steve. Listen.
Within hours, we had your white car on the camera. We knew from the very beginning we had you. Police officers tell us within minutes they had your DNA, like a calling card. You were that careless, that foolish, that stupid. Master degree.
I think I may have found the video somebody copied. Hold on. Let me make sure that this is the... Yes. Okay. Let me share this instead, and we'll listen to this one real quick.
Everything you say is going to be, you are going to be scrutinized. You are going to be followed. You're going to be photographed. Everything you say is going to be parsed and analyzed and attacked. But you said you're still fighting. How?
We're still trying to get them to release documentation. They told us that as soon as we were out of court, they were going to give us all of the discovery. Just 2 days ago, they sent us an email and said, no, that we have to go through it as the Freedom of Information Act. And we were in a meeting with.
You are kidding me. They're making you file a FOIA request for the documents?
Yeah, these people don't
2 days ago, because we kept saying, because they told us they would give it to us. They said they will give you all a discovery. And Shannon said, they're not going to have to go dig for it and get in line with everybody else. And they said, no, we'll give it to them. And we keep on asking. And then 2 days ago, we got an email and said, here's the links. You need to get on here and you need to file these forms and these requests. And there you go.
Which I did. And then it came back and said, we can't find any records on Kaylee. And I was like, all right, guys, tell me what department. The FBI has, like, let's just say over 10, and it's probably closer to 20. And I didn't know what department. I went for criminology justice, I believe, is where I did the FOIA. And they said, this is the wrong department. So I went back to them and said, can you at least tell me what department I'm getting a Freedom of Information Act on? And they're like, we don't have anyone to even talk to know. So they don't even know. And I'm like, you guys are clowns. You guys are clowns. You should be embarrassed to be this bad at your job. And I'll hold you accountable. And I think every family, when you lose your child, you have to expect the most. When you're talking about life and death, you have to take charge of the situation. There's going to be a time for you to struggle and be a victim, but if you can, rally up and then go into that system and demand justice. Demand that your child is treated as fair as possible.
You were going to be scrutinized. You were going to be followed. You're going to be photographed. Everything you say is going to.
So that is basically part of what the Nancy Grace interview was. And I don't know why they have deleted this video. Someone said it was because of what Christy said. What did Christy say? I know, Amanda, were you the one that said they removed it because of what Christy said? Let's see. Does anybody know why it was removed? Let me see if anybody answered. It was removed due to what Christy said, and they removed the word she said. What did she say? I wish I watched it. I didn't hear what she said. What was it? Yeah, it was deleted. It wasn't even on our website. I had to go to Crime Online, and I didn't even see a video. It had been removed.
Joining us now is a very special guest.
And when you go
Welcome
there,
to Crime
wait a
Stories.
minute. Here it is.
Tonight, it's a very special night.
Here it is.
BK, Brian Kohberger, what he's going through, what his complaints are, where he's housed. I'm so over here.
We were like, oh, security disguised as control.
And you know what? That does.
And
okay, I'm going to start back from the beginning. If you guys want to watch it, you can stay. I'm going to watch it because I didn't get to see it, and the other video said it was unavailable, so I am going to watch this real quick. I've downloaded it. I'm interested. Maybe they edit it. So, hold on.
Our entire staff across the country, as they are.
No.
The worst saying
pedophile. Kaylee would.
I wanted to open with sound from your daughter speaking out at Brian Kohberger's sentencing. I got to tell you something. You did something right. The way you have raised your children. Mrs. Gonsalves, weren't you so proud of her? And under the worst conditions, she stood strong.
Mm-hmm. She has never ceased to amaze me throughout this whole entire process. She has just been just amazingly strong. And when we went to the sentencing, we actually did not know what each other was going to say.
Wait a minute. I went to YouTube. YouTube said it was not available. I've gone to Nancy's website videos. It says it's there under her videos. So let me make sure I got this right. Let me just make sure I got this right. The video was removed on YouTube because Christy said the word grape. We all know what that is. It's code word for grape. I don't want to say it because I don't want my video removed. But what I will say is, how does she know this when they are adamant that they have not gotten any documentation on Kaylee and they have to FOIA the request like everyone else? How could she know this? How is it factual that she can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt and cause basically defamation on an individual? How does she know this? Was she there? Did someone tell her? I don't understand. I'm confused about this. Maybe somebody can enlighten me. But that video I just showed you live, that video on YouTube is no longer available. This is from Nancy Grace's own website. I know she could be a little bit off the chain and disrespectful. And I'm talking about Nancy Grace. We all know that. She's a public celebrity. But let's watch it. I haven't seen it. I want to see it. It's an hour long, but hang in there with me. I don't have any appointments this morning, so let's watch.
Because we did not want to influence each other's speeches. So we did not know. And it was all new. And she got up there and I was just astounded. I was just beside myself. And then when she was done, the audience or the courtroom clapped. And it was like, is that normal? I don't think people normally clap, but it was very surreal. It was very, oh my gosh, what happened? And then, I'm like, I have to hear that again. It was just so good. Just so proud of her, of what she said and the way she.
Okay, I have to stop it. I have to do some commentary. So it's under the Fair Act, but I want to just throw this in there for the thought and logic of this. If they factually know that Kaylee was raped, where's the DNA to prove it? Where's the DNA to prove it is whoever they say it is? Who has that information? And don't you think the parents would scream louder than the public narrative that was given to cover up this case? I mean, if I were Steve Christie, I wouldn't even care anymore what anybody thought. I would get the facts, share the facts, find the funding, go against the corruption, and scream from the loudest mountaintop. That's me. I would care less about anything else in my life but the truth and justice of the matter. That's me. Maybe they're not mentally at a place if something like that happened to them. Believe me, I was mentally at a place where I wasn't ready to stand up for my own rights. But when I did, the state freaking backed down, guys. You have to know your value and your worth in this life, or people will continue to walk all over you. If they know that they're hiding some corruption, I would move the fuck out of there as fast as I can. Excuse my French today, because you got spicy Phoenix. If you want to watch this with me, great. Let's watch it. I'll shut up the rest of it, but I'm going to interject when I need to.
He articulated it was perfect.
I'm going to play some of your daughter speaking, but as I'm looking at the two of you sitting there so close together, connected, clearly connected, you know, when marriages face the slightest problem, like you don't have enough money, or there's an illness in the family, or just any number of things, marriages break apart. But under the single worst thing that could happen to a mother and a father, the death of your child, which most of us can't even imagine, you two seem even stronger. You seem even closer. How is that happening, Christy?
I honestly, it has brought us closer just because the pain and the anxiety that we have had, or especially me, Steve has just been so amazing. He's been so gentle with me. He's given me grace. He's given me time to heal. You know, what do you need? Can I help you? And, you know, I try to be that person for him as well. You know, sometimes I just need a hug. When he gets home, I'm like, I just need a big hug. And he just wraps his arms around me, gives me this big old hug, and I just feel better. And I mean, he's been my husband for almost 30 years and, you know, 5 kids. And he's the epitome of an amazing man, an amazing father, amazing husband, all wrapped up in one. I was blessed.
You know, what's interesting, so many things about you two are interesting. And so many millions of people have been watching you at a distance. And I'm just so honored that I get to actually talk to you, not just watch you in a courtroom or on a camera. Mr. Gonsalves, you have been very outspoken throughout this entire nightmare. And a lot of people have attacked you. I don't get it. Do you even care what they say? I hope not.
No, it just rolls right off my shoulders. I played sports my whole life. I'm used to like constructive criticism, so that I'll take to heart. And you know, sometimes I will misspeak or I'll say something that, you know, I'll take back because I got my facts wrong. But I'm defending my children and my daughter and my wife, so I don't really take to heart them. I know that there's going to be some people who side with, you know, the other side, and I just keep it at that. I think they have more in harmony with evil than they do good, and their actions reflect that. So I don't waste my time on them.
Well, Mr. Gonsalves, our family, the Grace family, has a very old saying: screw them and the horse they rode in on. So that's my legal advice to you. I want to circle back to your daughter, who was absolutely amazing. And you know what? That doesn't just happen. She's amazing because you raised her to be amazing. She didn't just come out that way. She has had years of you as her example. What am I talking about? Listen.
You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so. All of that effort just to seem important. It's desperate. There is a name for your condition, though. Your inflated ego just didn't allow you to see it. Wannabe. You act like no one could ever understand your mind, but the truth is you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again. No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now,
did you have any idea what she was going to say, Christy?
No, we didn't. We didn't share our speeches with each other because we didn't want to influence them, and we were writing them up to the minute, literally like editing and adding and taking away. So no, she got up there and she flipped the table. I mean, she flipped it all upside down. We were like, oh my goodness, and she did great. People love her, and we love her. She's our oldest girl, our oldest child, and she's been through a lot with us, being the oldest. So she's very resilient. She's very brave. She's the best big sister to all the kids, and she's incredibly smart. She blows my mind all the time.
I just want to play one more time. I've got so many questions for you, but I just got to play one more tiny snippet of your daughter.
the truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be.
And all over the world, people joined in that applause. She's amazing. Steve, did you have any idea what she was going to say before she said it?
I did know a little bit of details. We talked about topics, and she said she wanted to use his questions against him, and we all had, that same idea. We thought about that, but she earned it. She needed that, and I was glad to give that to her, and that was her talking point. So that was the kind of collaboration we did.
So let me get this right. Nancy Grace last night goes live, bring these two up here, knowing that these documents were dropping overnight, right? Because it wasn't until almost 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, my time, that I was able to access those documents and bring videos so fast to you, because I didn't go to bed until almost 1:30 this morning. So Nancy Grace sets up the whole interview, has them on the night before these documents, and people wake up and they realize, oh shit, this isn't even Koberger's DNA. It was a female on Maddie's body and a male, very small amounts, and not Koberger's. Do I get this right? This is the narrative they're still pushing? Nancy Grace, shame on you. The FBI analysis showed not Koberger's DNA. No fiber, no hair, no dog, nothing. Nothing. Apartment, car, crime scene, nothing. Zip, zilcha, nada. Nothing burger. Niet. Nothing. I'm floored. I'm blown away that they're still pushing this narrative in this echo chamber for people to say, oh, he's guilty. He confessed. No, he didn't confess. He took a plea deal to save his own life, and his own freaking professor said that. City of Pullman officials said that in their emails to one another. He took the plea deal to save his own life. Wake the frick up, people.
I think when you see her, you have a glimpse of who Kaylee was as well. And when you hear my son, he was speaking as well. When you see the two kids, you see who Kaylee was. And that was our best way of showing the world what had been stolen from us. He was very average, but his victims were exceptional. And that's what we wanted to convey. That's what we were missing. And
what the frick? Are these individuals not reading the ISP, the FBI, the ISP, the reports from Moscow Police Department? This kid, this adult male with autism was not average. He is amazing. His freaking professor said there's no way he could have done this. Even the expert of Whitman County, Washington, 30-year prosecutor turned professor at WSU, Koberger working in his lab, states for the record to the FBI. It crossed his mind, then he realized logic that Koberger was not strong enough. His own quote. Boy, I am fired up now. After seeing this stunt Nancy Grace did last night, I am freaking fired up for justice. If you don't go to Justice4, FOURALL, and read this information for yourself, if you don't share this with someone, if you don't tell someone today how innocent he is, shame on us. Shame on us. They are trampling on our rights as we watch this. Laughing at all of us saying he's factually innocent because he is. They laugh at us. These YouTubers and these social media influencers and these crime sleuths, and they want to discredit us. And if they can't discredit us personally, like, oh, the eyebrows, man, stop eating donuts. Yeah. If they can't discredit us professionally, they go that route. We are living in some dangerous time, folks. Dangerous times. If you're in that echo chamber box, you need to break out.
We wanted the world to know about that, like what we're missing and what kind of a person she was.
Hi, guys. If you are relying
I'm going to stop it right here. As Nancy spews her little commercial, I'm going to spew ours. In this nest, Justice for All, FOURALL. It is all free. Thank you, Christina, my amazing mod. It is all free for you to go and get the documents. No one is charging you for these documents. It is all public information. We as a nesters here donate to keep this website up, and it's going to stay up until Brian Koberger is exonerated, folks. It's not going anywhere. You have my personal promise.
seemingly every headline is about BK, Brian Koberger, what he's going through, what his complaints are, where he's housed. I'm so overhearing about Brian effing Koberger. I want to talk about the victims. Victims all over the world are watching you and getting strength from you. I remember the moment that I turned into a crime victim, the moment I knew my fiance had been murdered. I was standing at a payphone and I could talk, but I couldn't dial the numbers. My hand was like a moth trying to get to the light. I couldn't punch the numbers. I remember it exactly. When Mrs. Gonsalves, did you know without a doubt, something horrible had happened.
It was Sunday, November 13th. We were all here watching the football game. And my niece called me and she told me that something terrible had happened to Kaylee. Her cousin or her husband's cousin went to U of I and something was going on. And she believed that Kaylee was dead. And I threw my phone across the room and I started calling Kaylee.
So get this, she said something happened in her first ever interview with Chronicles of Olivia. She says they were shot. We've got that recorded, guys. They were shot. So if you're telling me that they know all this info and it's accurate, then these people were not stabbed, they were shot. And if she was raped and they know it, how do they have this information? Where is the factual information? Where is it? Because they set this interview up last night to throw you a bombshell and stick with their narrative, when in fact this morning y'all wake up, FBI, no trace. DNA, a female, and slightly a male. Guys, you can't make this up. Nancy Grace, this is a disgrace to your viewers, especially loyal people like me. This case needs more truth.
And her phone was going straight to voicemail, so I started calling Maddie and nothing. So I called Olivia and got Olivia on the phone and told her what was going on, but we were still trying to stay calm, saying it's going to be okay. It's going to be, something just is wrong. Well, as the hours went by and we called police stations and hospitals and we got nothing, no information. But we see her house on TV and it's cordoned off with yellow tape. I knew in my heart that something terrible had happened. But for sure, when the sheriff showed up around 5 and came to the door and told us there was 4 homicides.
Mrs. Gonzalez, what do you mean? Because I knew Keith was dead before they said he's dead. I knew. When you said you knew in your heart, how did you know in your heart? And what was that feeling? How did you know? And I've heard many, many other violent crime victims say the same thing. They knew before they were told.
Well, I knew just because of my niece calling me. She's a very responsible adult. She's a mother. She's a nurse. I knew that Sabrina would not have made that call to me had she not had facts. So I knew, even though we didn't have confirmation, but I kept telling Olivia and the kids, she's gone, guys. We don't know what happened, but.
So let me get this right. She has a family member that calls and tells her allegedly they were shot, but yet was she getting medical care somewhere? What is the real story, guys? What is the real story? Hey, welcome in, Criminal Mind Holds. I just showed your video, just a short snippet with Outcast last night, because I was up late looking at these documents, and I saw he was live when I was uploading a video, and so I ran in there to listen to him, and you were there. Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. So what is the real truth, guys? Was Kaylee actually in a hospital getting treatment? Was she injured to where they took her to the hospital? What is the real story? What is Steve and Christy trying to tell us behind the scenes? I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know.
And we're running around the house frantic. I'm crying. Everybody's crying. We're trying to get in touch with somebody to get answers. And I kept saying, the sheriff will come. If it's true, the sheriff will come. And it was that evening, and I looked out my front window and I saw the sheriff pull up, and I said, the sheriff's here. And I took off to my bedroom. I ran to my bedroom and everybody answered the door. And I came back out about a minute later.
Wait, as a parent, if my child was injured and I heard, I would be racing there. I mean, literally speeding there to get on site, just like all the other parents in this story, this case. Mogan's on site. They were driving when they got the call. Laramie drove down there. Even the Chapins were in their vehicle when the police called them, tried to contact them. All the other parents were down there. Where were they? Watching football and hoping for the sheriff to show up? I'm so confused.
And stood here at the front door and asked him what happened, you know, and he said it was a homicide. And I said, they were murdered? And I asked if one of them was Maddie, because at that time things started clicking. That could possibly be Maddie, because she hadn't answered me all day long. And they said yes. And we said, how? And they said, we don't know. Here's a card, call this person in the morning. And we were like, should we go down there? I said, no. And I said, what are we supposed to do?
Should we go down there? Hell freaking yes. I would be in my car speeding like a bat out of hell to get to where my child was, whether they were alive or deceased. This doesn't make sense. They had other children that went to school there. They had other friends, families on their way there. The Madden, the Mogans, and I don't get it. Why would they stay away?
What do we do? And he said, just call in the morning.
I'm trying to, I feel like I'm seeing it all play out right in front of me right now. I remember I was holding this big stack of school books. I had just come out of a statistic exam. And I remember just dropping everything. And it was so unreal. You said you ran out into the yard. Do you remember that moment? Where did you think you were going? What were you going to do?
Well, I actually ran to my bedroom. And I just, as soon as I saw that sheriff pull up, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't want to hear it. I was running away. I ran back to that room, and, you know, I was crying, and it just all hit me. Like, this is not a weird situation. This isn't, and, you know, Kaylee's gone.
What? This is not a weird situation. I have to replay this. Guys. Sorry. I have to hear this.
What were you going to do?
Well, I actually ran to my bedroom. And I just, as soon as I saw that sheriff pull up, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't want to hear it. I was running away. I ran back to that room, and, you know, I was crying, and it just all hit me. Like, this is not a weird situation. This isn't, and, you know, Kaylee's gone. Even though I knew all day, but I didn't know. It was just hard to explain, but in my heart, I felt it. And
I knew all day, but I didn't know until the sheriff came to tell you. Did they not try to call? And all the other families did. They showed up at the police department.
It was just the finality. Like, this officer is here, and he's here for a reason. You know, and it was, your whole body hurts. Like, everything just aches. Like, your fingertips, your toes, your knees, you get shaky. Like, that really happens, like the shaking in the knees. And
now that is true. That is true. That is true. I've been there. And it just brings back a memory for me when I was in the military. My fiance was a Marine, and I got word that he had passed in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was broken.
It's real. And I think at that point, I went into shock. And I think that shock lasted for quite a while for me. I don't remember a whole lot after that. I have pretty big gaps in my memory.
Steve, do you remember her? running to the bedroom and hiding when the LA law enforcement came up the driveway?
Yeah, I remember her running that way. Aubrey went up the steps and she went on her computer and she started. At first we thought it was just like a rumor, some drama, some fake thing. I mean, it's a college town, parties happen, kids do pranks. We thought there was something else going on. At least I did. That's why we were like, if the cop shows up, then, that's not a prank. This is something serious. And even then, I still couldn't fully understand what, you don't know what death is unless you've been familiar with it. And we weren't. This family hadn't been struck like that. So, yeah, we missed that door right there behind us and opened that up. And there's a sheriff there I've never seen before in my life. And Kootenai County car. And thankfully, he gave us a little bit more information than we had at that point. And he cleared up the fact that it was a homicide, and Maddie was involved as well. And we knew Maddie's mom was on the way down there. So we were like, do we call her? Do we let her know that they already told us we couldn't go down there and see them. We couldn't go down there and pick her up or anything like that. So it means an ongoing investigation. So we just sat in the house and just thought of ways to get a hold of people that had been around the children in the last 20 to 48 hours and figure out what's going on. Was this some random act of violence? What was this?
Was it a shooting from a party? Was it the night? Yeah, I just,
Whoa. Wait a minute. I've been thinking this and someone else. Let's listen to what Christy just said one more time.
We just sat in the house and just thought of ways to get a hold of people that had been around the children in the last 20 to 48 hours and figure out what's going on. Was this some random act of violence? What was this?
Was it a shooting from a party? Was it the night? Yeah, I just.
Bingo. Was it a shooting? Was it from a party the night before? Bing frickin' O. Bingo. Bingo. I am screen recording this. Bing the frick O. She just gave the whole thing away. Good for you, Christy. Good for you.
Yeah.
We just didn't know.
People were saying it was fentanyl and, all the type of things that would go around. So, and, they wouldn't even tell us any details. I mean, it was months before we actually even knew how they were killed. So it was very frustrating. We got the vandal alert that told us that there was 4 homicides before we even knew what was going on. So they knew before we knew.
Just trying to imagine everything that you're saying. And the officer gives you a card when you go, well, what do we do? He goes, well, just call them in the morning. It's almost like a bank with banker's hours. You can get back to them in the morning. So what do you do all night long when you have this knowledge and you can't go there? There's nothing you can do there. What did you do that night?
I did not sleep at all that night because after what we were, going through, I also called Olivia, and she lives down in LA, and she threw her kids in the car, and her husband jumped in the car, and they drove up here. So they drove through the night. That was about 5, 6 o'clock at night when they left LA. It's a 20-hour drive. So, I was worried about them driving all night, as well. And I just couldn't sleep. And my mind it went crazy. I went crazy.
Yeah, we knew that Kaylee had mentioned being stalked even right up until the weeks that this had came up to that. So I felt like I kind of wanted my family to be focused on something other than just the devastation. So I was like, you're finding out information, get a hold of a neighbor. And the more information that we found, it just felt like that was at least something to grab, that's something we could control, go away from just being victims to being investigators of what happened to our child. And we did find out a bunch of things that those 48 hours from people that were just reaching out and saying, hey, this is what I know. I was right across the street. This is what's going on, and we just went from there.
I remember what you said, Steve. Listen.
Within hours, we had your white car on camera. We knew from the very
beginning. Or trying to focus off the pain and focus on what happened and finding the truth.
Yes, because Jack actually wound up coming here because he left Moscow and he came here, and obviously he was there at the scene and stuff. So he had heard what Dylan was saying. So once he told us that, because like I said, the officer said that it was a homicide, they were murdered. But then Dylan was saying there was a masked man in our house, and you know, there was somebody in the tree and all this stuff. And it quickly was clear that this sounded like a stranger murder, you know, not like somebody they knew or whatnot. So it really changed things. It felt like a huge, I mean, just a huge violation. And we just were like, we've got a murder that, and at that time before, I just kind of thought they were going to get him. They, you know, it was some kid, he went and he shot up the house or something, and they got him. You know, he's
What? The only evidence I've read in the ISP report was over at JD's house, alleged bullet residue. That's the only place. And I will show you the document. Holy freaking moly. Let me see if I can bring it up. Hold on. Oh, come on. It doesn't want to find it. Why is this one not searchable? There's few documents in here that are not searchable. There's the presumed blood. Where is the residue from the bullet? Where is it? Hold on. The only blood residue was on King Road, where all the other frats lived with JD. Luminal light source. Okay, hold on. Where Adam lived with JD and all the other brothers. They lived in that house, and it was presumed bullet. It was sent for testing. Presumed for blood and bullet residue. Where is it? Gosh. I wish I would have wrote this one down. Dang it. And it's not in my document. What document is it? Are they trying to tell us or question? She's giving details that are in these ISP documents, and I'm thinking to myself, everyone knows. They're trying to keep it secret. I think she knows exactly. I believe Steve knows. They got the word on the street even before the police knew. What do you think? Let's listen to this. I'll find the document. Hold on. Let's finish listening to this. I think she's telling the story without telling us she's telling the story.
Walking down the street, and I just kept waiting for the news to say they've arrested somebody. And when Jack told us that, I was kind of like, ugh, you know, this sounds a little different than what we're thinking. Type of murder.
Well, I mean, you're right, because
when Jack told them, yeah, he was sitting in the back of the police car. He was listening to the radio. He probably was listening to everything. I agree.
We're all led to believe, Steve and Christy, that, oh, they died in their sleep. That is not what happened at all.
Well, it's about time, Nancy Grace. Welcome to the party.
Steve?
Yeah. You don't expect the prosecutor to lie to you. And we were lied to. All the parents were lied to. We weren't given the details. They're asking us to make a decision on life or death, and they're not even giving us the details of our own children, let alone the whole circumstance of what happened to them. I know for a fact that when one of the mothers heard what happened to Kaylee, she said this would have changed everything. So it was disgusting, you know, and they kept saying stuff like crime of passion and house or a party house. And we're like, what's going on here? I'm literally watching the surveillance of this road, and this car keeps flying around this house over and over again. They were clearly stalked. I don't care what the prosecutor, maybe he can't prove it because he's just not that good, but they were clearly stalked. He was there multiple times. The officers were distracted with giving minors in possessions when they're literally filming the house that these kids get murdered in. I mean, that town has to clear up some priorities and realize that, you know, noise complaints and alcohol is only a part of their job. And they need to make sure that they're protecting these kids if they want to keep doing business.
I was stunned when I heard there was going to be a plea. I remember the moment. I'm like, what? A plea? I want to circle back to something you said. Okay. Kelly, and we heard dribbles about this at the beginning, had stated that she was being stalked. Okay. But then the prosecution says there was no stalking. We have no evidence of stalking. I mean, how many times can we place that Elantra stalking the King Road address? And Kelly knew she was being stalked. So that is a lie. You stated the DA lied to you. I believe that because there is no way all the parents would have acted like they were going along with this plea.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. If you've not read the ISP documents, they did the surveillance from Winco when Kaylee felt like she was being stalked. And in fact, they went back and they saw the video of the guy. They described the guy in the ISP reports. Is this the same guy that followed her from the Winco parking lot to her car that Xana was waiting in? Is this the guy? Is it possible based on the DNA I just proved to you? Is this the guy that was stalking her? I know it wasn't Koberger. Was it the guy at Winco? That's my question. Think about it.
If they had known what we're learning now with all these videos and body cam and crime scene photos coming out, that is not what everybody was told happened.
Yeah, 13 incidents in WSU before this individual was let go or defunded, whatever spin these universities want to put on it. This guy was a nightmare, throwing up red flags everywhere. And those are the type of details that we gotta force our courtrooms to be more honest. And we shouldn't be sealing things up in a case like this. I mean, it's not national security.
Steve, you can't have it both ways. You just can't. You can't spew out of your mouth that it was Brian Koberger when the facts are coming out. They're releasing the facts faster than you can continue the narrative. Now, I feel like you've given some truth, what Christy has said, but you can't have it both ways. It can't be both. It's either one or the other.
It's getting abused. They're abusing these rules that they say, oh, we got to protect. They didn't have anyone to protect. They didn't even have the guy until almost 7 weeks, and they were still hiding everything. So it was just a lie. And, you know, when you call them,
what were they hiding?
Just telling us our child was stabbed
brutally.
How many times?
How many times? We just learned the day before the sentencing, how many times Kaylee had been stabbed.
Wait a minute. I am stunned because she was stabbed so many times. They could not identify her. And you just learned about that when the plea was set to go down?
We learned about it after the plea, the day before the sentencing, because they lifted the gag order. So the detective said that they would talk to us. So we talked to them briefly, and we had questions about Kaylee. You know, how many times was she stabbed? I mean, that's not on her death certificate. The coroner never told us. She just said around 20 is what she said. So we really didn't know, and we didn't know where. So we asked them that, and they told us 38 times. And then we were like, okay. And they said Kaylee had really bad damage to her mouth. And I asked them if her teeth were intact, and they told me no. And then the day of the sentencing, the docs were dropped, the Moscow docs were dropped. And the next day we were driving home and I was reading some of them. And I read that Kaylee was, unrecognizable. And that was, that word will forever like traumatize me. I didn't expect that. And then to read another report that said the same thing, unrecognizable. And then to read a third report that said he wasn't sure what he was really looking at because the facial structure had been so badly damaged.
So that's why we're disgusted with this prosecution team. I mean,
we did not know any of that for 2 years and 9 months. We did not know that because of the gag order.
And they're telling us, are you okay with us giving them life in prison? We're like, no, we're not. And the people who are, they don't know what we know, and we don't know what they know. I don't know what happened to their child. They don't know what happened to mine. It was a protect the business over the victims, over justice. We're still fighting with it. I mean, we're still fighting with it to this day because we're hearing details that he was following girls out to their car, and one of the professors said this guy's going to be a problem if he gets his PhD. He's going to harass students. He's going to freaking abuse his power. All the things that we suspected that were going on, we find this out afterwards. Why they go on a media tour? They only told us so they could go do a media tour and tell all you guys. So they're like, well, we have to tell them before we tell the world. So basically 12 hours earlier, they tell us, and then they grab a microphone and tell the world. That's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm just so stunned at how this went down on you. And there's something about the victim's face, because I know I'm projecting. Keith was shot 5 times in the neck, the face.
That is personal, in my humble opinion. I am no expert, but anytime that they damage a victim's face like that, that is revenge and personal. In my humble opinion, I am no expert.
The back. And I try not to think about it because it throws me into a horrible depression, because I think about the bullets tearing through his face. He had these beautiful blue eyes. And I wonder, were they shot? What happened? Did he feel it? When you learned how many times she had been stabbed in the face, were you full of rage? Were you full of tears? What went through your mind when you learned the truth? Too late.
So we actually learned all the truth from her autopsy report, and we were given her autopsy report on a thumb drive during the sentencing. The investigator walked into the courtroom that day and said, and we had arranged that, and he said, here's the autopsy report. So in reading that autopsy report, we found out that Kaylee had been stabbed 24 times to her face and head. She had 11 to her chest, neck, and like torso area, and 3 to her upper extremities. So I thought about her eyes too. I was like, was her eyes stabbed? But somehow or another, Kaylee's eyes had not been stabbed. Kaylee did have really bad facial damage. Some of her teeth were missing. Several were broken. And she had 2 subdural hematomas to her head. So her nose was broken badly.
Yeah, so that, for me, it was outrage because my daughter was fighting up to her very last breath. Over and over, she kept trying to get out of that bed, and he was just drilling her. Yeah. And she's fighting for her last breath. And I got this old Santa Claus who's just throwing out a white towel, just saying, oh, let's just make it all go away. And I want these type of killings to stop. And you don't do that with weak prosecutors. And this man is extremely bad at his job. And just yesterday, we asked AI, what are the safest countries in the world? And out of the top 10, every single one of them have the death penalty. Well, 8 of them have the capital. So for somebody to think that capital murder doesn't work, well, the safest countries in the world use it, and they don't use it like how we are in America.
Yeah.
As just a bargaining chip.
Yeah, Idaho has it, but our guys have been there for a long time, and we knew this wasn't going to happen fast.
Yeah,
but he was going to be on death row. It's the principle. He deserves to ultimately die. Now, maybe he's going to die of natural causes or just because he gets old in there. But we were hoping, because they just brought back the firing squad, that here in Idaho, things were going to pick back up and they were going to start, executing these murderers and these criminals that are on death row. But we knew it wasn't going to be anytime soon. We didn't think they're just going to take him out back and shoot him. I mean, that would be great. But even if it was exactly how they told us, they were just sleeping in their beds. They probably never even woke up, and they were just stabbed to death. Little package of bow on it. We still would have wanted the death penalty.
So wait a minute. They still believe Kohberger did this last night without seeing the FBI evidence that was dropped. Well, let me show you if you've just joined us, because this is Bombshell. People need to understand. I have updated the website early this morning, by the way. The analysis of Kohberger's DNA fiber hairs versus the victims was a big, fat nothing burger. You can go right to this website, download this information, or look through it. It's all there for your leisure. This laboratory report by the FBI clearly states, and I read it to you this last night in the video, it clearly states all of this evidence right here, all this microscopic examination of hairs, fiber from all the victims, and Kohberger's car, the headrest, everything in his apartment, everything in his vacuum, all the hairs and samples collected from anywhere in his being, apartment, bed, everywhere, microscopically. What did they find? Nothing of evidentiary value, nothing matched, and Kohberger was not present. This was unredacted. The one I just showed you was this is the original. Basically, it says the FBI found no connection of any of the victims' debris, hair, tissue, fibers, dog hair, animal hair. Nothing matched Kohberger. Nothing. This is the report. This is the report. And I also added the guilty plea advisory form, just so you know. And as we're watching this, last night, they had no idea that this was going to drop this morning. No idea. And they're still basically believing what the prosecutors are telling them, even though they know all this evidence doesn't lead up. I hope they talk. Because they weren't given the truth. Public wasn't given the truth. They covered this up, folks. Covered it up. All right. Let's see if this works. Can you guys see this? Here we go.
Going to be followed. You're going to be photographed. Everything you say is going to be parsed and analyzed and attacked. But you said you're still fighting. How?
We're still trying to get them to release documentation. They told us that as soon as we were out of court, they were going to give us all of the discovery. Just 2 days ago, they sent us an email and said, no, that we have to go through it as the freedom.
Because Christy and Steve, they don't want to be sued. You can take them for all they're worth. They're going to try to drag this out as long as they can so they are not liable. Wow.
About Information Act. And we were in a meeting with.
You are kidding me. They're making you file a FOIA request for the documents?
Yeah. Yeah, these people don't
2
do
days
a good
ago,
job.
because we kept saying, where's our, because they told us they would give it to us. They said they will give you all a discovery. And Shannon said, they're not going to have to go dig for it and get in line with everybody else. And they said, no, we'll give it to them. And we keep on asking. And then 2 days ago, we got an email and said, you're just going to, here's the links. You need to get on here and you need to file these forms and these requests. And there you go.
Which I did. And then it came back and said, we can't find any records on Kaylee. And I was like, all right, guys, tell me what department. The FBI has, like, let's just say over 10, and it's probably closer to 20. And I didn't know what department. I went for criminology justice, I believe, is where I did the FOIA. And they said, this is the wrong department. So I went back to them and said, can you at least tell me what department I'm getting a Freedom of Information Act on? And they're like, we don't have anyone to even talk to know. So they don't even know. And I'm like, you guys are clowns. You guys are clowns. You should be embarrassed to be this bad at your job. And I'll hold you accountable. And I think every family, when you lose your child, you have to like expect the most. When you're talking about life and death, you have to take charge of the situation. There's going to be a time for you to struggle and be a victim. But if you can rally up and then go into that system and say and demand justice, and demand that your child is treated as fair as possible, and you'll feel better when it's all said and done. You know, it's never going to bring them back. And I literally had a judge scream at me, we're not going to bring her back. And I was like, that's not what this is about. This is about you guys doing everything by the book.
Wait, the judge told you you're not going to bring her back?
Yeah. Yelling at me, telling me he didn't want me to talk to the media anymore. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. I'm going to talk to the media every single time I want. He basically said, well, then we'll never have a trial.
Yeah, he in a closed hearing.
I can't believe a judge told you how you're supposed to behave, and you can't bring her back. That is not appropriate for a judge to tell a grieving parent, you can't bring her back. Let's just let it go. It's not going to bring her back. It's not about bringing her.
Yeah, they wanted to sweep it under the rug. Hello, we've been trying to tell you guys this for a long time. Cover up.
Her back. It is about justice.
Yeah, he actually said, he was talking, we all were in the courtroom or on Zoom, all the families. And he actually said, and the Gonzalez family, especially the dad, needs to shut his mouth.
And I said, that ain't going to happen.
And he said, I don't agree with that. And he said, I don't care if you don't agree with that. And Steve said, well, I mean, you know, me, I'm fighting for justice for my daughter. And he says, do you think that that you're going to bring her back? Doing this all is talking to the media is going to bring her back? And Steve goes, no, I mean, I know that's not going to bring her back, but you know, I still have,
we got to hold people accountable.
We have a voice, you know,
have to hold people accountable.
How in the hell does he get off saying it's not going to bring her back to you who have lost your precious pearl, and he is telling you to speak or not speak? I mean,
I still had a son at that college. There was another victim's sister that went to WSU. We had lives still on the line, making sure that place was protected. And when we're sitting there saying, "Hey, we need to know the facts. We need to know were they stalked? What's going on?" We have kids still going to school here, and they're just like, "No, you don't have the right to know anything." And it was,
yeah. No.
Do you think the other parents were duped? You think the other parents were duped, that they didn't understand the facts when they agreed to that plea?
So the plea, they set up a meeting with us via Zoom, our whole family, on a Friday afternoon. It was like an hour and a half long, and we talked about logistics of trial, because it was coming up. Security, where we're going to park, how we were going to have to phone in every day and tell them who's coming, and yada, 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 yada.
Our car had already been vandalized in their parking lot.
The Ada County.
So we're like, how do we make sure this doesn't happen anymore, guys?
And ironically, that day that we went to court, there was a bunch of pro burgers on the other side sitting behind Brian doing this and on the camera, and our car was vandalized. We're like, So,
speaking of the Pro Burgers, you know what I have in my hand? All of Koberger's complaints. I know it's kind of irrelevant. All that matters is Kelly is gone and her friends are gone, and he murdered them, and we're paying for his 3 hots and a cot. Okay, that's what matters. And is there any way under God's sun that it can be fixed? But I find it ironic that he is filing complaints that he is being threatened sex harassment through the air vent. Like he was the one looking up online, attacking and raping women in their sleep, when they were drugged, when they were passed out, when they were comatose. That's his.
This is an actual disgrace. Did Nancy Grace's team ever read the professors and the TA's statements on Koberger? They were, majority of them were favorable. She's not read the FBI reports. She is going to lose some followers over this because she has always been a credible source. Now they're backpedaling by having the mom and the dad on, Kaylee's mom and dad, on live nationwide TV. Nancy Grace is a household name, guys, in the crime industry. They're backpedaling now, being able to tell what happened in court. Didn't the producers put this together, that it was not Koberger? And now after today, how are they going to reel back from this one? Because she's sitting here defaming Brian Koberger. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Twisting the information on a piece of paper that may or may not be true. And if he is in fact being harassed by the state of Idaho, IDOC inmates that are in custody of the state of Idaho, somebody needs to go tell that warden to knock that shit off in his jail, in his prison. Every single prisoner is in custody of the state of Idaho. So if Koberger is being harassed, the state of Idaho is allowing that. Just saying, folks. You're getting feisty Phoenix today.
His fantasy. That's why he broke in that night, when he assumed the girls would be asleep. He's whining that, Mommy, they're threatening me through the air vent. And he's actually, I love this one, that he's complaining about the food on his tray and the nutritional value of his food.
He didn't get his banana.
Wait a minute, Christy. He didn't get his banana? Whoa, these people have been so misled. I feel sorry for them, but they're allowing them to be manipulated. And I'm going to prove to you right here. I loaded this on our website, our community website, to get the truth out there. I am not a freaking pro-burger. I am true justice and our Constitution. If you go and you look at this, this was filled out by himself. Now, number 6 states, have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health disorder? Yes. Autism. 2025. Now, he probably knew he had it. His mom knew he had it. But a lot of people don't get medicated or checked or given care. His scans that the defense put in the record show neurodiversity issues in his brain. Now, he writes autism level 1. He writes OCD. Everybody knows what that is, hopefully. He writes ADHD. Hopefully everybody knows what that is. And then he writes ARFID. That's an aversion to certain food groups. Does anybody else understand what that means? I'm going to be honest. I had to go look it up. I've seen it before. I know what it is, but it didn't hit me until I went and I read, what is AFRID? At first I thought he wrote he was afraid, right? That's what I thought it was. But no, Let me bring you up. It's avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. It means it's a condition that limits your food intake. It's caused by negative self-image or a desire to change your body weight. It's inherent behaviors. Fear and anxiety about food or consequences of eating, like choking, can lead to AFRID. Dude, when I had my stroke in 2022, I couldn't swallow well. You can go and look at the side effects of having a freaking stroke. Yes, it was documented. I was in the hospital. My kids were afraid that I was going to die. I thought I was going to have a really hard time leaving the hospital. I refused a walker. I walked out with a cane. The doctor was like, as long as you walk out with something. I had a bad gait. I had a slurred speech. I had to recover over the last few years. I was thankful that I recovered, unlike most people that don't recover from a stroke as well. Yes, I bet you probably would never know that. Why does she speak so slow sometimes? Well, now you know, because my brain's all jumbled up still. But if you would have seen me back in the day, I was on fire. I was on top of my shit. But let me tell you, even with the stroke, you still are more likely to choke on food. I know what that's like. Now, I'm not saying I associate with what he's going through, but what I understand is I avoid certain foods, so I know that I have a less likely ability to choke on food. Now, like I said, you're getting feisty Phoenix today. So, for somebody to sit there and talk shit about somebody without even looking or investigating themselves to understand another human being, she would rather sit there and say, oh, I didn't get my banana today. What the frick is wrong with people in our society? This is the prime example of how this family was misled by the system, taking their anger out on somebody that the FBI has just said, no, it's not him, guys. It's a female, and the experts say it's a frickin' female and a male, small source DNA that unalived Maddie Mogan. Well, who unalived your daughter, Steve? Where's the report for that? That's something you should be begging for, that I would be begging for, that I'll go and beg for you. But they're not going to release it. I'm going to tell you right now. They need to cover this up as long as they can. And these people are still believing the people in charge over them, the authority. Stand up for your freaking rights, Steve. You feel like you failed, Kaylee? You haven't failed, Kaylee. You haven't tried hard enough.
About the food on his tray and the nutritional value of his food.
He didn't get his banana.
And he refers to bringing the food like a butler. The service just hasn't been that good.
It's going to get a lot worse. He's the property of Idaho now, and it's going to get worse. I guarantee you that.
I like you said, I think it's very ironic. I'm like, for him to get there and so quickly start complaining and even throwing out other inmates' names and CO names. It's like, you were in prison. I mean, this is not his forte. I mean, his forte is to kill, but not to be killed. His forte is to, possibly, I mean, he didn't rape any of our kids, but possibly, but not get. I mean, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander here, And I think it's just so ironic that he is complaining with written complaints and saying this inmate so is doing this to me and saying this to me and this, and he expects them to come and save him.
Yeah. Well, they've been babying him, and we baby our prisoners. And when you become the property of a state, you should lose your constitutional rights. You shouldn't have all these rights as if you were a tax-paying citizen doing your best job, going to work every single day. We gotta fix some of these things, and we have been talking to legislators. You're asking of us things that we've done. We're not going to take this lightly. We're going to do everything from a victim's perspective. We've become advocates and witnesses for our kids, and we're trying to change it.
What word did they cut out? Let me go back. How far, Amanda? I was so fuming from my last. Oh gosh, let me see what they said.
But possibly, but not get. I mean,
I heard it. They cut it out. That's why YouTube deleted the video. They cutted that portion out. I got it.
There and so quickly start complaining and even throwing out other inmates' names and CO names. It's like, you're in prison. I mean, like, this is not his forte. I mean, his forte is to kill, but not to be killed. His forte is to, possibly, I mean, he didn't rape any of our kids, but possibly, but not get. I mean, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander here, And I think it's just so ironic that he is complaining with written complaints and saying this inmate so is doing this to me and saying this to me and this. And
yeah, I caught it, Amanda. She said it like 3 or 4 times. I caught it.
And he expects them to come and save him.
Yeah. Well, they've been babying him, and we baby our prisoners. And when you become the property of a state, you should lose your constitutional rights. You shouldn't have all these rights as if you were a tax-paying citizen doing your best job, going to work every single day. We gotta fix some of these things, and we have been talking to legislators. You're asking of us things that we've done. We're not going to take this lightly. We're going to do everything from a victim's perspective. We've become advocates and witnesses for our kids, and we're trying to change it. And I think you guys can see that. That went all the way down to my daughter in the courtroom going after him and letting him know that we're not just going to be victims that you can keep down and keep trying to hurt.
I do also think that they really upped the ante taking him to prison, which what we were hopeful for, because I think that Latah County Jail was a cakewalk. And then Ada maybe got a little
it was
tighter.
total Mayberry. It was total Mayberry. I couldn't believe it. This guy's going to have a tablet. He can watch movies. He can communicate with the outside world. I guarantee you, just give it a minute until people think this has died down. He is going to Zoom at some symposium. He's going to have this weird cult following, like you mentioned, the Pro Burgers. He can write a book. There's no Son of Sam laws in Idaho, I don't believe. He can even get married. I mean, it's so wrong. I feel like running out the street and screaming.
I called that months ago. I told you there was a facility in Pennsylvania that can accept him with his disabilities that will be a better place for him in Pennsylvania. I bet you that was already in the works. That was part of the plea deal, guys. I guarantee you, alleged, that was part of the deal. I even showed you on my stream the exact facility that's available in Pennsylvania. It's one of the very few in our country. One of the very few. And I'll tell you, I am an advocate for constitutional and civil rights. And there were so many that were overstepped in this case.
I think I just read somewhere the other day, which I know I did that. Does one of the Menendez brothers have a child?
Yes, he has a daughter.
He had children.
And even Jorn Vandersloot. Jorn Vandersloot that murdered 2 young girls, he murdered Natalie Holloway and Stephanie Tassiana Flores under similar circumstances. His judge daddy protected him. He's had not 1 but 2 babies behind bars. He drinks, he does drugs, he smokes, he gambles. It's like insane. But again, screw them and the horse they rode in on. I want to talk about what, if anything, can be done now. Starting with, do you believe the other families were duped? If they had known the truth, would they have gone along with the plea?
I can't say 100%. But the thing is, I don't want to speak on behalf of them by any means, but
I just have to stop and say this. They have the cutest fur babies that are sitting behind them.
I don't think that the other families necessarily wanted the truth. They didn't want to be lied to, but they didn't want details.
Yeah.
And we did. We weren't just like, okay, she was stabbed to death around 20. We're like, how many? Where? And because I do talk to Maddie's mom, and Maddie's mom is like, please, please, please. Like, I don't, so I don't say anything to her when I speak to her about, what happened. She's like, I don't read that stuff. I don't watch it. our thing is we have kids, you know, we have two that are older, we have two that are younger, and you can't tell them to stay off social media for the rest of their lives. And I don't want one of them open up TikTok and seeing crime scene photos of their sister or body cam. So we're trying to stay one ahead. And as a mother, even if I didn't have children, I would still, as much as it has traumatized me, I would still want to know what happened. I want to know what happened from top to bottom.
Christy, isn't it true you basically got an email saying, hey, we got a deal?
Yes, on a Sunday afternoon. They sent it at 4:53 p.m. We happened to be checking his email a little later, around 6 or so, and he said, what? And we lost our minds. We immediately emailed them and said, we need to talk like now, like what, has this been sent yet? Have you offered it yet? What is going on? They sent us an email the next morning and said, we can meet at 3 today. And we said, you didn't answer. Has this been sent already? And they said, yes, it was sent yesterday evening to the defense. And so we met with them at 3 that day on Monday, and the plea had already been accepted. And we lost our minds. We were in that meeting. I mean, we were screaming, we were cussing, we were yelling, we were saying, why did you do this? How did you do this? You know, what happened? You just talked to us on Friday and told us that, you know, you had every anticipation of taking this all the way. We talked about court. I mean, we talked about a plea deal for like a second, and he just said, oh, I think that they might be wanting one, but we have no reason to give them one. You know, why would we? And we're like, yeah, right. Why would we? And he said, well, how do you guys feel about a plea deal? And we're like, no, absolutely not. No. Boom, moved on.
Yeah, he accepted the plea deal within the same hour that he got it. This man never wanted to fight for our children. Literally, I mean it. They fought for their lives, for their very last breath, and this man had no fighting.
Did you hear that, guys? Did you hear what Steve G just said? Did you catch what Steve G said? I'm going to play it back, because to me, it seems like he was saying Brian had no fight for these kids. Listen to this. Listen to the context he says it.
You just talked to us on Friday and told us that, you know, you had every anticipation of taking this all the way. We talked about court. I mean, we talked about a plea deal for like a second, and he just said, oh, I think that they might be wanting one, but we have no reason to give them one. You know, why would we? And we're like, yeah, right. Why would we? And he said, well, how do you guys feel about a plea deal? And we're like, no, absolutely not. No. Boom, moved on.
Yeah, he accepted the plea deal within the same hour that he got it. This man never wanted to fight for our children.
Did you hear that? This man accepted the plea within the same... Is he talking about Thompson, or is he talking about Koberger? Who is he talking about?
Literally, I mean it. They fought for their lives, for their very last breath, and this man had no fighting. They fought hard all the way to the end, and he gave up within an hour of being given an opportunity to quit on these kids. And that...
Oh, he's talking about Thompson. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood. I want to make sure I understand he was talking about Bill, because for the first part I heard, I thought maybe they knew that Koberger was innocent and he was going to fight Bill in trial and win. And then they would have to go back to the drawing board and figure out who they were going to charge with this unaliving, with this murder. That's the way I was looking at it. So I was looking at it from a standpoint that Koberger didn't have the fight in him to fight Bill Thompson for a no guilty verdict. Because if they would have went to trial, all this would have came out. The truth would have came out if it went to trial.
That's the kind of problem.
Everything we know now would have been already told to us last month. Last month. We would have already been halfway through trial.
prosecutor that you got to get. You got to get him out. You got to get real prosecutors in Idaho. We got some jobs to do. We got some work to do there.
Yeah, you have to have a prosecutor that, if you're in a death penalty state, believes in capital punishment.
Yeah, it's not your will. It's the victim's will. If they don't want it, then fine. But we had 4 people.
And Bill Thompson has never talked to us since that Zoom meeting that we had. And we were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you did that.
Wait a minute, he's never talked to you since? He's been all over the media, but he hasn't talked to you?
Nope. When we did get a briefing, it was from the investigator, the 2 investigators.
And Ashley Jennings, so the deputy. But Bill Thompson, because I mean, we were going after him. I mean, our whole family was in different windows, and we were all just coming at him. We were just like, Bill, like, how could you do this to us?
So this guy did not have the balls to talk to you after the deal because he knew he had done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I said, did you at least get some details? Did you at least find out about the kill kit, the knife, anything? He goes, Steve, we'll never get those details. You're never going to get those details. It's not important. He's just going to lie to us. And I said, you are absolute idiot.
Yeah, because they wanted to sweep it under the rug. Case closed. Stop talking about it, all you programmers. He took a plea deal.
You have no idea who this person is.
Bye, Liv. We'll see you later.
He is going to write a book, and I'm going to learn about the sickest details through his prophet book, through its sister, or through some professor, whatever way he does it. I'm going to hear about him, and you're an idiot for not even knowing who you're dealing with.
You know, I think maybe I can get a straight answer from you guys. What do you believe Kohberger's motive was? Not that the state needs to prove it. I don't know why they kept talking about we can't prove.
In Idaho, you don't have to prove a motive.
Motive, it doesn't matter. You don't have to prove motive in a murder case. But what do you believe was his motive?
I think that he had been watching either Kaylee or Maddie, and I don't think the others were involved. And that's why he went straight up to that room. That house is so confusing. It's just they're just a build on from hell. They just built on and built on and built on and throughout the years. So it is a very confusing floor plan. And we know that he went in there very quickly. He wasn't, he went in and he went out. And
they are still believing he was in there. This was last night. What are they going to do when all this other future evidence is dropped? I mean, I would have just been silent till all the evidence is dropped.
And he may have tried to walk into Kaylee's room first. We don't know. And Kaylee's bed was empty. So he's like, I'm going into Xana's.
He wasn't there. No fiber, no DNA, no pet, nothing from his apartment, nothing from his car. You think at the rate that he fought, that you're saying alleged, he fought these 4 individuals, he would have dropped blood, sweat, eyebrow, hair, DNA, tissue, shedding tissue. Hello, people. Hell freaking low. I'm just baffled. I wonder what they think today after that FBI evidence dropped and the actual evidence for the DNA. I wonder if they're sitting around now saying, who was the female? Who freaking killed Maddie Mogen? That female DNA, I've got the pie chart up. I'll share it for you. There's the answer. This was done. Prosecution knew at this point they were cooked. The DNA, 83% was Maddie Mogen's own body DNA. Then it was Kaylee. Obviously, they were found together. They went out. They shared. They were best of friends. They hung out. And then 4% of unknown females and 1% male. A female, more likely unalived, Maddie Mogen, than a male. She was laying in her bed. Think about it. Wow. This is almost over. It's only got like 10 minutes and we're done.
Or Maddie's, and maybe went into Maddie's and then got mad because Kaylee woke up and was like, oh, there's 2 in here. But I think it was some sort of an obsession. Some sick, twisted, stalking. Maybe he hated one of them. Maybe it was both.
Now they bring in hate. Now she brings in they hated them. Wow. Okay, now I feel like they are so conflicted.
I think it was hate.
There was no blood on Kaylee's door, so that would lead us to believe he went there first, opened the door, seen the dog or seen something, and then said, okay, there's nobody here. Then I'm thinking he went to Addie's room. And you don't see blood on that door, but the other door downstairs, they do see blood on it. So I think we're just going through this, reverse engineering it. We've talked to detectives and things like that now. And we believe that explains who he was going for. And he definitely stalked them. He stalked multiple girls on that hillside. He's a copycat killer, and he just was really poor at it. And I mean, you can look at his handwriting. He might be a PhD student in Pennsylvania, but he would have had a way harder time out here. I mean, he looked like a little kid, like a little fifth.
Y'all hanging in here watching this, we appreciate it. I appreciate it because we are getting more information than before, than ever right now at this moment of time in this case, other than we will get more information on September 19th. So sit tight.
Great to write that paper. So I can't believe that's.
Guys, why do you think everybody is attacking Dylan and Bethany, acting like they did something wrong or even part of the murders? It's insane.
I hate it. We absolutely hate it. And it just, I fear, and these girls are so young, and for them to have to deal with this for forever. And I mean, I'm not going to say that the events that occurred that night were strange. Do we think they were involved in any way? No. Could they have saved the kids if they were to call 911 right then and there? No. But I mean, but you know, when you go into fear, you go into that flight or fight mode, and maybe that was they flew, you know, and they cuddled up together. It is very clear.
You know
that
what's interesting about what you said when you were talking about you saw LA law enforcement come up in your driveway, you ran to the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, it's hard to explain in the heat of the moment, the fog of war, why anybody does anything that they do. Yeah. Why did I throw all my books down? I don't know why I did that. Why did you run to the bedroom? I don't know. Why does anybody do anything? And attacking those girls is just like more victimization. Another thing, I know you've got to go. I find it really interesting that Washington State had this long history of his anti-woman, misogynist, stalking behavior, and did.
Oh my God, they're talking about the document of the girl that Brian Koberger flirted with. Guys, this is crazy. Flirted with a girl, found out she was married and had a disability. And then this girl stalked Koberger, in my humble opinion, alleged, based on her testimony in the documents that she timed when he was late for class. She watched him vigorously. I'm just like, you can't make this shit up. Why does Nancy gloss over that and not read the whole freaking document herself? If she's looking for clicks and views, she's got them. But this guy is being defamed left and right. It's wrong. And they just keep doing it.
Nothing. That's really interesting. If he had been thrown out, he wouldn't have even been there.
Exactly.
Yep. And he should have been thrown out before he ever killed these kids. That's the truth. If they should have set a standard and said, look, we don't put up with this in our university. You cross the line, you're done. It's not even our decision. It's just your behavior. We're holding you accountable. You should behave like this. That's the expectations in Washington State University. And you either do it or you don't.
I mean, he had 13 in the first semester. The first one came in August. That's the first month that you come to school. And then 12 after. And November had a huge, Thanksgiving break. And then he didn't even go the whole month of December. He took off like December 9th or 10th. And there's 13 formal complaints. What were they doing?
What was he doing? Following them, stalking them?
Just being would kind of act aggressive and stand in doorways from what we've read. And the girls would have to walk past him and Yeah.
Guy should have been punched in the face. He was a creep, and he's a disgusting creep. The kind of guy, we even heard about it from the Seven Sirens bar, where those girls put a little note, said, hey, if you get this credit card, watch out for this guy. I mean, he's been doing this his whole life, and we didn't stand up to him. And we need to start standing up to these type of bullies. And hopefully Idaho will get it right. Hopefully those prisoners in there, they'll do the real justice. They'll act like real men in there, and they'll handle it the way that it should be handled in the first place.
Yeah.
Is there any way in your mind that this plea can be reversed, or any way that the feds may seek the federal death penalty?
We've heard that and we've seen that, and a lot of people have reached out to us and said that, this can happen, but we don't understand why it wasn't federal in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, he crossed state lines to kill. He drove from Washington to Idaho. We never understood why it wasn't a federal.
Because the feds knew it wasn't him. They can't take a case and prosecute it federally if they know it wasn't him. That FBI lab report came from Salt Lake City. FBI. Hello.
Case in the first place. But
exactly.
I think they're just like, it's done.
I've got another question, because a lot of crime victims are watching you right now. Do you ever feel Kelly's presence with you?
I do. I do. Not as much as I would like, but once in a great while I do. And it's funny because
this is terrible to say, but I feel Kaylee's more presence stronger with me than probably her own mother. I think Kaylee wants us to find justice, guys. Not just for Brian, but for herself and her true friends.
Like you're outside and a little ladybug will, a ladybug will land on you and you're like, oh, it's bug. And then you're like, oh, ladybug, so ladybugs really get me, because it's not that common that a ladybug will land on you. But Kaylee was bug. She was our bug. That's what we call her, K-bug. And
oh my God. I cannot believe she just said that. My daughter, my youngest, is my bug. She is my M-bug. I cannot be... Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't.
And we all just recently got ladybug tattoos, but ladybugs are very special. And I feel like, And then here's another thing is Kaylee was, she loved Stitch when she was born. Stitch just came out, the cartoon Stitch, the Disney. And so we bought her everything Stitch. And it's very ironic that since Kaylee passed away, Stitch has been kind of brought back. They've done a new movie with Stitch. So there's Stitch stuff everywhere. So we'll be in the store, this and that, and we'll be like, and you'll see the most ironic little Stitch figure or Stitch stuffed animal in this whole mess of other stuffed animals or something, in this little Stitch face. And we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's Kaylee, just in the strangest places, you'll find a Stitch, small or big or big one or something. And it's just like, Kaylee. So Stitch and ladybugs.
Guys, how do you speak with a straight face? How do you keep being so strong? I'm looking at Steve Gonsalves and his face is like granite. How do you stay so strong?
Because it's so important. And I love our country. I love the state of Idaho. I want things to get better. I don't want these kind of sickos to prosper. And for us to win, we need real leaders. We need real men and real strong women who can stand up to these people. I'm making them. I'm raising them. I got some of the strongest girls in the freaking world. And he killed one of them. Hold them accountable. I feel like we got a job to do. And I think if parents get a little more proactive and be a little bit more vocal towards that prosecution, they can force the media to help hold them accountable. And I really believe that the government works for us. I believe that government is servitude. You go in to serve. You don't go in there for your own opinion. You might not believe in the death penalty. We don't care. It's the victims and their families. That's what you should be negotiating for. You're their vote. You're proxying their will through into the courtroom. And I think the courts lost that. And we're going to try to bring that back. I mean, there's a reason why we took our daughter to Texas. She had a full scholarship. We said, you're going to Texas because they honor their victims. They do everything in their power. Florida's another
Not
one.
that we're going to have another victim.
No.
Not happening. But
I don't know if you know this.
You don't show
and these
weakness,
are
like,
not
you know,
just empty words. But I want you to know from the beginning, the very beginning, you are the focus of so many prayers for you, for your children, for Kelly, not just for what you have endured, but what you will endure. And I want to thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you to your audience.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've seen some comments in the chat. That was a lot to take in. Thanks for hanging in there while we watched this entire video that was removed from YouTube, but at Nancy Grace's site. Thank you, Nancy Grace, for that interview. As regardless how we feel about you, do better. I mean, come on. I think we agree. Now, there was something that was brought up in the chat. I don't know why everyone keeps talking about this individual, but I researched this individual. I found nothing of any value to this individual in this case. Maybe I've missed something, and I'll share it. It's all public information. This individual that you guys keep saying her name, what's the background on this? I mean, you can go and find out who she is. You can go and on social media anywhere. You know that she went to the U of I. You see that she was an intern. She was a vice president of the Associated Students University of Idaho. She was the chief staff. And you can go and look at her background. But tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I'm missing in regards to this. I mean, there's a lot of information out there about her. All public information. This was one document that I thought was very interesting, basically talking about the Vandal Pride. So what information am I missing about this individual? Please share, because a couple of people have said her name over and over, and I don't know if this was WSU Kim's daughter. She didn't want to give out any of their names, and she refused to give their names to police, but I'm sure the police found out who it was. So I don't know why people keep saying her name over and over again, but this is who. Look at Christina's comment. Okay, hold on. Christina is right. Hold on. Christina, she was Kaylee's sorority sister. Oh, that makes bigger sense to the puzzle. Was she her big or her little? Oh, she had the white bag at the grub truck. She was at the grub truck. She passed the note to Kaylee that Joe Vito passed to her. What? I thought that was somebody else. Yes, somebody did say, a witness said that Kaylee and Maddie left in a blue Honda. A blue Honda that you see maybe at Taylor, alleged. She was carrying the white purse that you see across in front of the band field. Got it. Got it. Okay. Wow. You've got to be kidding me. Now it's falling into place. I don't know. I can't see that that Banfield footage is sketch. You can't make anyone out. It looks like that video has been blurred. You know that they have people that blur these cut cams in these videos out from things that they don't want you to see, right? You guys understand that. And, you know, there's some rumors that alleged BK worked in one of these capacities and he saw things he shouldn't have saw. I'm sure you've heard those rumors out there. But I'm just saying that we don't know, and I don't want to speculate, but what we can say is what we see in these documents. That's proof, right? That is 100% proof. So now that we know and got that out of the way, I keep seeing people keep commenting about her, and I'm like, who is this person? Now that makes sense. But yet I've looked for all her sorority. I didn't find anything. I mean, there are some things out there on Instagram, but I didn't find anything like, because Maddie, Ethan, and Xana wanted out of that Greek life system. They didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And they had to do it quietly, but obviously they couldn't break free from that system, in my humble opinion. Yeah, it's just terrible. It's sad. I think that they were targeted because they no longer wanted to live that life. And they found some things that they didn't want them to not be a part of that system, to hold it over their heads. In my humble opinion, based on the videos that Maddie posted, based on the videos that Dylan posted, there's so much more. There's so much more. But when Steve had said that about, the death penalty and these criminals and this and that, what about his brother? What about his brother, you all? Because this is one of the things that really irked me when I heard that. His brother is in prison for murder. He is one of these people that he's talking to BK like this. And one of the things that really shocks me is that in Washington, Christy and Steve tried to get protection orders against his brother. That's public record. I shared that before. And so while he's trying to get protection from his brother years ago, before the unalivings that his brother did, or his unaliving, he sits there and says all this stuff. Well, his brother was sitting in prison for murder. Make this make sense? Did he advocate for his brother? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to put the pieces together. Anyways, you know the drill. We've been live for 3.5 hours. That wasn't planned. It was just one of those things that we followed the rabbit holes. We went to see where they were live after I gave you the evidence. Nothing else, and I have just checked the repository. Nothing else has dropped. Let me look just one more time before I go today. I know you guys got things to do, families to take care of, errands, jobs, all that great stuff. Thanks for hanging in there with us while we watched that Nancy Grace interview that gave us some new nuggets of information that behind closed doors, in fact, even though we weren't there and they were there present, behind closed doors, some shady stuff went down. And I'll paraphrase per the couple we just watched. Judge Hippler didn't like Steve sharing his knowledge with the public, knowing that he would probably be in some interviews. And they got so much hate. They got the catch-22 of it all. Catch-22. Amazing shit went down, guys. It's still going down. It's still going down. We've only got one DNA report on Maddie Mogen. Where are the others? If Koberger did this, I want to see the smoking gun. Drop a 1 if you want to also. But for now, he is factually innocent. All the documents are at Justice, Justice 4, like the IDAHO4, FOURALL.com. I've loaded all the current documents there. Share the heck out of our project, our website that came out of this nest. And yes, Birdie and I are on great terms. I don't know who's spreading the misinformation out there, but I will knock it down right now. Knock your shit off. I am not one of the creators out there that follows anyone else. I don't have a coven of whatever behind me. I'm an independent. I am not paid by anyone. I am sharing my thoughts, my views, and what I see. In this case and many other cases, I've been around for a long time, folks. But I will say this. I don't play the little creator shit games that are going on. Don't drag me into your bullshit. I don't dox people. Anything that I share is publicly out there for anyone to find. If people tell me confidentially information, I will not reveal sources. I will not give that information unless they say I can share that information, which I usually don't like to unless I've got receipts to back it up. Run me over or try to run me over. Be careful. You don't want to poke the bear or the phoenix because you'll get a fireball. With that being said, you guys are freaking amazing out there. Birdie and I are good. Whoever's spreading that misinformation, tell them they're full of shit. Birdie knows what I've been going through. Nobody else needs to know. I built my channel on my own merit. I built my TikTok on my own merit. I've got 36,000 plus now on TikTok, and in under a month, I don't even know what I'm at here, folks. Does it really even matter? People want to know the truth. That's why they come here to listen to me. They want to know shit. They want to know why I'm questioning the unthinkable. I'm at 5,000 in 30-something days. And it's because of people like you that want to know. People like you that don't have time to go dig and do all this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, folks, to check out facts and receipts. That's where you find the truth. So, I'm here for you as a conduit for our constitutional and our civil rights. Know the difference. Know that I love every single one of you that are here. Thank you for the gifters. I so appreciate you. Marissa, being a member for a month, thank you so much. I am now releasing videos only for members. Thank you, Anna. Dana, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. I think we do what we can for one another because we want this world to change. We want better in our criminal justice system. We want better for one another. And I'm here for that. I am down for that. And if you don't like the feisty phoenix because I said the F word once, I used to be a U.S. military Navy wave. That's what they call the Navy. The girls, they call them waves. And I've dropped F-bombs all my life. It took me 30 years to stop saying the F word. But you get me fired up, and I'll go toe-to-toe with anyone. Humbly, respectfully, gracefully, and professionally. So I'm here for it. If you're here for it, make sure you hit that thumbs button up. Share it with somebody. Share our community website. Be the change. Yes. Be the change. We're all in. I'm in. And I'm not going anywhere. Nobody can scare me off. And with that, everyone be well. Bombshell evidence is still coming. September 19th is going to come and go as fast as we know, and we are going to find out more. Stay tuned. Be well.
No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.